Hey guys, what's going on? I'm here with Devin Shidaker. Shidaker?
Shidaker.
Shidaker. I get every name
Yeah.
wrong. I should definitely get that. I should start practicing names before I roll live, but
Yeah, and I'm here with my good friend Sean Price.
yes. Scene. I get seen a lot. Scene
Scene,
price. Yep. I
scene price.
You'd be actually kind of amazed how often I get that, but it's all right. Um, Devin is a streamer and a guitar player, and he has started working for a company as an A&R rep.
Yeah, and as I've also taken on the role of operations manager while we deal with this whole pandemic thing. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, that is actually super sick. That was one of the main reasons. One of there's clearly multiple main reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast, but I think that's so cool. I love the gear industry because I'm a guitar player nerd, just like all of us, and um, it's a really cool job to have taken on, especially for such a cool company. It seems.
Yeah, and it's like we're it's a startup, and we're still in those stages. I came on because I was originally an artist and then changed hands with a new owner coming in, and there've been challenges because it's, like I said, new company basically, and pandemic and all that. So right now it's kind of a passion project we're hoping to turn into like an actual thing. But I think we're right on the brink.
I think it will be. I mean, I played some of the pickups at NAM and they were sick and people were stoked on them. And there's already like a couple names on the roster that are like powerhouse. You, Pat,
Yeah,
Fit for an
Pat from
Autopsy.
Fit for an
Yeah,
Autopsy.
that dude, he brings people's attention easy.
Yes, he does.
But
And
just
besides being a great player, that's why I wanted Pat on our roster, because he knows what he's doing. He knows how to
yes.
get people to check things out.
Yes, he does. He's caught my attention plenty of times on guitars he's played and pickups he's played, just anything he touches for sure. But just before we get started, Devin hosted the stream, so we got a bunch of Devin. I called them Dev heads on the way in. I thought that was really clever. Um, Welcome,
I like
guys.
it.
This is Don't You
Hey,
Fret,
everybody.
and
My Twitch channel is Strong Brother DS, so I call him the Strong Brethren, part of the strongest team on earth,
the Strong Brethren, the Dev heads.
the Dev Heads.
Man, I love it. Well, how are you, dude? Let's start with that.
I'm doing well. It's obviously it's for everybody. It's been a tough year. I haven't got to play music since we were the last band to play at Chain Reaction. Played on March 14th, and they had already put the first uh, crowd capacity limits down. Then, so we played, instead of canceling, we played 2 half capacity shows. That early
Weird.
on, everyone was just like, okay, well, we'll be over this in a couple weeks. Not
Yeah.
the case.
Wow,
Went home
that's
then.
a cool
Uh,
flex. The last Chain Reaction show so far.
but hopefully not the last for
Ever.
good. Hopefully,
Right.
yeah.
That venue
So
I think I saw went through like a fundraiser to
they
keep it
almost
open.
they almost went under, but
Yeah.
they got saved very quickly. But yeah, so from there went home, and my fiance and I were living in the Bay Area. It was miserable. We were renting a single bedroom in somebody else's apartment for way too much money.
Whoa.
Managed to get ourselves up far north to Humboldt County, where her family's from, and it is enjoyable. It reminds me a lot of Ohio, like where I'm from, where a lot of there's still lots of amenities, but it's not everyone piled on top of each other.
Right.
It's a nice time.
Yeah, LA
And
is intense. It's a vibe that I enjoy, but I don't love to
yeah,
participate in.
I would I think I would like living in LA better than I like living in the Bay Area, just because there's Bay Area is mostly like tech industry, and there's a lot of like music industry down south, but it's still the whole like being piled on top of everybody. Like, I
Yeah.
hate that.
Well, it's like
I hate sitting in traffic. Like, no one loves it. No one's like, oh shit, I love traffic. But
yeah, but you have the people who are like, dude, LA traffic's not real traffic. It's moving. It's just congested. It's like, no, dude.
no, it's not. It's
It sucks.
nowhere else in the country. You can book a show in Pomona, which is not that far from LA. And
The glass
people
house
in
or
LA are like,
whatever.
oh, I wish you guys were playing LA. And you're like, we're playing here, and like, oh, that's like an hour away. And I'm like, so what? But
Yeah, dude.
an hour to drive like 15 miles in traffic is a lot further in my head, like as far as frustration goes, than driving just an hour down the road, like 60 miles and getting there.
Well, also, what true spoiled people can say that because, like, being from Birmingham, every show I went to growing up was at the
Zydeco.
Masquerade. No.
Oh,
Because back in the day,
you didn't have, you didn't have
so
that
like
then.
before it was even
You're
open,
driving.
I was driving 2.5 hours to see any show I wanted to go to. So
Yeah.
like people are like 40 minutes. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, when you're in a bigger area, you have things to choose from. You're like, I don't feel like driving an hour because I might not get to see the Acacia Strain or Era, but this other band I like is going to play near my house tomorrow.
Well, not only that, but like specifically touching on Pomona in LA, like Pomona has the Glass House. It's like one of the sickest venues ever.
Oh, it's incredible.
So nice. It's like bands just prefer playing something like that over. I mean, Chain Reaction is sick. Every Chain Reaction show I've ever been to has been awesome. But
I love them both, and it's again, part of it is just like it's not even being spoiled. It's just like you have the option to go see stuff all the time, and bands play through it all the time. Like you might get if you live in Birmingham now, well, pre-pandemic times, you'd have like, bands playing Zydeco, hell yeah. But for these areas, like, we'll play Chain Reaction 3 times in a year.
Right. I mean, even then, like Birmingham's still borderline a B market, like probably C market. So
we don't play there often.
Yeah. It's so funny too. People like, Zydeco. I live 5 minutes down the road from that venue. So like I could probably like visually walk you to my house. Because you've like experienced a lot of bands have experienced Zydeco.
One time somebody pulled down part of the roof when we were playing, and metal came down and like sliced some girl's head open. And she ended up becoming like a huge fan, and she always has to take a picture with Vincent anytime we go through. She's like, remember me? And he's like, yes, of course I remember you. You had your head sliced open.
I wonder if I know her.
Died.
Because like Birmingham scene is not big at all.
I can't imagine it's not very big.
Yeah.
You see the same people.
Yes. Yeah, especially metal in Birmingham. It's like just the southern states. Like metalheads definitely congregate here.
Right.
We move around in herds. Wow. So you guys played? Was that on a tour? Were you guys playing a tour that got cut short, or?
We were doing a headliner. We were basically. It was a headliner where we were slowly releasing the Slow Decay EPs.
Okay.
We released D on the first day of the tour, so we were playing Seeing God and Feed a Pigeon, Breed a Rat on those shows. We made it 2 weeks, and I was paying attention to the thing like probably since January before NAMM, and I was like, so I had NAMM, like I had my fucking hand sanitizer. I was like bumping elbows with people. Didn't get sick.
I was not paying attention at all till around April, and like I think my fond memories of like the before times was like going to NAMM. Everyone was packed in like sardines.
Oh yeah, and so we did the tour, and we tend to go to malls like every day because you know how it is. Load-ins 3:00, and you're like we drive overnight, so we're like, well, what do we do from 10 until 2:30 when we leave? Let's go to the mall. We can all get food in the food court. Everyone can walk around.
Different options for different dietary restrictions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So, also, you can use your laminate when you're buying food. Like, you do employee discounts. I work at Hot Topic.
Yeah,
sure. I'm still cheap. But I'd go to like Bath and Body Works every day and just buy different hand sanitizers. I had a whole bag for that tour because I'm like, I don't know. We would play places that were hot spots because they were still tracking COVID in America at that time.
Yeah.
And I remember we played Tampa at Crowbar, and first off, it was sick because the sound guy, Kevin and I were sound checking, and we were playing Symbolic by Death, and we were just using house sound guys on that tour, and the sound guy was like, "Hey, I used to be Death's sound guy," and we're like, "What?"
And then you guys proceeded to sound so sick that night.
Oh, it was incredible. Like watching video, I couldn't tell from stage because that's how that works. But seeing videos, I'm like, oh, that sounded damn good.
House sound guys are really scary on a tour because like you'll have the best and you'll have the worst. Yeah.
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 And sometimes you just know going in, like, we played here before, this guy sucks. Yep. Or this is going to be awesome.
Or you can tell within the first like 3 minutes of a conversation. He's like, well, why do you need 24 outputs? It's like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Yeah.
We need more kick. I can't hear this. And he's like, well, you're peaking. It's like, cut the bass, just turn up the treble, make it clicky.
You're telling
You can get
him
more
cut frequencies.
to cut through. And he's, that's always a mess. But anyways, we played Tampa, and at this point, that was a hotspot that had 4 confirmed cases. You know, like how we have now hotspots with.
It's funny
4
to
whole
think
people
that a
that got
hotspot
sick.
is 4 as well.
Yeah. But I'm there, and I'm like, the bathrooms, there was no soap, there were no paper towels, and I said something like, there's like a thing going around, and they're just like, I don't know, like,
Gosh.
what do you want me to do about it? I'm like, okay, cool. I guess I'll just dousing my hands with hand sanitizer.
I mean,
And
admittedly, I think I just don't watch news and stuff anyway, so I'm a little late to parties regardless.
yeah.
So I'm going to blame that on my reasoning for not following super closely. But then, like, I
Yeah.
don't know. January sounds so early to me. It's crazy. But I
Right.
mean, I remember
at this point,
I definitely remember going to NAM and being like, a super virus is in China. And I was like, okay. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because that was when it first started to get us, like, for the business, because I was there for Guitarmory, and we were working on opening up from. We had one guy building in his garage, who he's great at building pickups, but it's one guy. He's got a full-time job. This is like a part-time thing for him, and we were working on building the brand and going into a like an actual manufacturing facility. We had that lined up, and they're like, all right, we just have to order parts for China. And everything was shut down. So it was like a big wait for parts, and then we got shut down, and so their whole facility was shut down for months because they were in California. And then when it opened back up, we were like, okay, we have all these orders we took, waiting for this facility to open up, and they ended up saying, okay, well, because of the cost to our business during the pandemic, they raised the prices on us to the point where it was like unaffordable. So that whole thing fell through, and it put a huge roadblock in front of us that we're finally starting to come over. But yeah, NAMM for us, it was like, we're like, this is not looking so great because we can't get parts to make stuff.
When I went to you guys' booth, sharing booths for smaller business seems to be the move. And you guys, what guitar company was that? Was it Skirvison?
We were with Skirvison.
Yeah. Which sick guitars. They don't get enough attention.
Incredible guitars.
Yeah. So that's always a smart move. I mean, I remember going to Rev. I mean, well, Rev still shares with, they're building twin torpedoes and their stuff now, but
and Rev had a great thing going on for him there too, where almost every guitar booth had a Rev amp in it.
Dude, so smart. So smart. And that's another company that's just crushing it.
Yeah.
But like the smaller booth. Oh, and like Abasi and Horizon sharing. So smart. Yeah. I mean, and like they don't really coincide with each other, or like conflict of interest, because one's pedals, one's guitars. They go well together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Whereas for pickups, the same. Like we have like our own booth we're sharing with Skirvison. Just put our pickups in your guitars. We'll cover part of the cost of the booth.
So crushing.
And next time they do NAMM, since we've branched out, so we kind of created a parent company for the brand called Cerberus Music. So we have Guitarmory Pickups and then Cerberus Guitars. We started a guitar line. It's all built by a small team of luthiers, not like a big factory like World Music or something like that, but small factory in South Korea, and the quality is super high end, stainless steel frets, all that good stuff. More modern metal designs, but we're bringing that stuff out now. We've got a couple guitars for sale, but I think we'll be ready for NAMM the next time they actually do a convention.
Yep.
And then it'll be just like our pickups and our guitars kind of sharing a booth.
Dude, I didn't think I would miss NAMM as much as I did.
It was my first. This last one was the first time I ever got to go.
What'd you think?
Oh, I loved it, but it was just, it's a lot. Like, especially working and still trying to go around and like see stuff.
Well, I've yet to do demos, and I've heard that can put like a completely extra stress on people, because you have to go and you have like the pre-tour anxiety of it going well and getting it,
Yeah. Oh, I did demos.
Yeah. I watched you at Balaguer, actually.
Yeah, I did I think 2 or 3 Balaguer demos, and one, it was like at that point, that was my first time playing those guitars.
Oh gosh.
Because I checked them out. Joe brought them to one of the shows, for me to like try out in Pennsylvania, like just to see how I felt when I was still, on the other team. And and yeah, I still love Ibanez. I still love
Yep.
Mike Arrigo. He's still my boy.
Mike's awesome.
Yeah. But I tried him. I was like, this is something special. And I thought about it for a while, and I decided like the offer was too good. I'm like, I gotta go this way, because I just felt like with Ibanez, for me, it's one of my favorite brands. But I felt like as far as being able to grow my own stuff, like as a brand, I was kind of at a ceiling, and I'm like, I need to either make a move now or hold off and just kind of settle. And while I could be happy playing Ibanez for the rest of my life, I still have a bunch of those guitars and I love them. Just the opportunity to do like a signature model with a brand that I also like. I was like, I got to do that
And believe in. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've known about Balaguer for a while. Because our old sound guy Chris, he had one that he had custom built, and they treated him really well. He's loved his guitar, and he's somebody who I like,
Long
whose
beard,
opinion I take
Chris.
very seriously. Yes.
Oh, that dude rules.
Chris Weist.
Dude, I have a
so
story about Chris I'll say later.
Oh, I'd love to hear it. But, so Joe Balaguer and trying to remember who else came with him. Came to a show I think we played in Reading, PA, or maybe Easton. But we played in Pennsylvania. They came out, saw Chris, and they're like, hey, man, like immediately remembered him, which is like good sign number one.
Yep.
Because nothing is worse than meeting like an AR person or anything like that who's just like, who are you? I don't care. I just want to talk to this guy to get him playing our products.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, all right, well, I'm already on board just from that. And then I played the guitars, which both of them in their fact, they have the same, like the similar team of like small luthiers in South Korea for their custom stuff. I was convinced they were American guitars when I'm playing them. I was like, oh, and I was asking Joe, like, are these like your heritage models that you built? And he's like, nope, those are South Korean. And I was like, what?
Wait, say again.
Yeah, because everyone's played like instruments made in like world music or anything like that, and they're fine, but you can tell the difference between an ESP and an LTD.
Yeah.
And I played these, and I'm just like, wow, holy shit! And then once I got like my signature models they built over there, blew me away.
What I'll say about Balaguer that I enjoy a lot, and you could probably say the same thing coming from Ibanez, I need a shreddier neck.
Yeah.
And Balaguer, even though they look super classic and look like they would have baseball bats for necks, they don't. They're really fast.
Yeah.
They're very self-playable.
They've got their comfy C shaped neck, and then they've got mine uses the modern D, which is more of a flat. Because I went for like the whole vintage modern look. You have some like vintage looks aesthetically, but modern features like a fast neck, a thin neck. And one thing I like about Balaguer as well is when I was trying to put my guitar together, Joe especially will give his input on like, I don't think this wood combo is great, or you might want to, with that kind of shape and this, you might want to do bolt on versus neck through versus whatever, which I don't really care for neck throughs anyways, but there are other companies out there, like other US based custom guitar order companies. I'm not going to name any names. They're very popular, but they will let you order whatever you want, and then people will be like,
why does
this guitar's
this
really
suck?
pretty.
Yeah.
I've done so many setups, because that's another thing I do in my free time is guitar repair and setups, and so many of these guitars show up and they're just lifeless. They're very beautiful looking, but horrible wood combos, end up with just a dead feeling guitar. And Balaguer will at least be like, hey, you should try doing this.
Well, and it's in his best interest too, right? Because like if he knows the guitar and he knows that what they're being built is going to suck, he knows that's going to come back on his name. You know what I mean?
So right, because people are going to be like, this guitar sucked.
Yeah.
This company sucks. And it's like, no, you just picked poor wood choices and nobody steered you in the right direction. I think that's really important, and I like that they do that.
Yeah. Joe, I've only met Joe once. I actually was at NAMM, but having a bunch of mutual friends. He knows Connor from Era, my band.
Yeah. one of the most handsome bass players to have ever lived.
That's all he is. He's not any playability. It's just his looks.
He's just a face.
I'll
He's
admit
just
it.
a face for the band.
No, I don't mean that, Connor, if you're watching. Yeah, so when you go and meet someone face to face and you're like, yeah, we already know so many people, we should just be friends. It's super easy. But he was a really, really nice guy.
And he's another thing that I like about, because they're still a smaller brand and he kind of handles all the AR stuff himself. He's not pushy. Nothing that bothers me more than somebody who's like, they're not paying attention to any of the things you're saying, where you're like, I'm kind of happy with what I have.
Yeah, they're just like speaking from like a scripted speech or a sales pitch. Yeah,
like,
I've experienced my fair share.
If I'm trying to get somebody pickups and they're like, I'm happy, I'm like, oh well, at the most I'll be, I was like, yeah, let me just send you some stuff. No expectations attached, nothing. I'm not going to be like, what'd you think?
Every day.
Because in that point in my head, it's like, I'm just planting a seed. If at some point you want to make a switch, you'd be like, oh well, they sent me some stuff and they didn't bother me about it. Except Tom. I'm trying to endorse Tom from my own band and won't go for it.
He will not? That's hilarious.
Tom's reasoning is because he's also like a producer. He doesn't want to be tied down to any one specific thing. So he's like, sometimes I want to use bare knuckle and sometimes I want to use a DiMarzio for this, or I want to use a Duncan for this.
I get that.
So I get it. He likes the stuff. Like he's used some of it before, but he's like, I don't want to be tied down to anybody for pickups. And I'm like, all right, fine.
I get it, but at the same time, I've never played a part of a song thinking this could use a DiMarzio pickup. Like I've never once thought that, but
right.
All right.
Very true, but
yeah.
That's his deal. I'm never gonna stop harassing him about it though, because I think it's really funny, because it definitely gets on his nerves.
You never should.
And one of my favorite hobbies is bullying Tom Smith.
He's a sweetheart too.
Yes, he is.
When we toured with you guys, we were unexpected to be like instant best friends with all you guys and hang out.
Yeah, that's the thing. What is cool about touring with a band you've never toured never toured with? You're just like, are these guys going to suck, or are we going to be friends? You never know.
No, you definitely don't.
And then it ends up going a certain way, and you're like, hell yeah.
I think just being chill goes such a long way, because a lot of the bands that end up causing trouble or being annoying to hang out with, they're just not chill. It's like there's too much energy, and when you're like coexisting with all these different dudes, strong, like let's face it, to be in a touring band, you have to have a strong personality of some type, right?
Yeah.
So when you mix 20 dudes with strong personalities, like if you're just chill about it, it's easy. And there were some there were some green rooms on that tour that were I remember I think it was a venue in Canada, but every band had to be in one green room, and it was just like, this could go one way or another.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we played in Montreal, and in chat here, Jimmy, I think you might have been there. Jimmy Jacques, he's from Quebec.
It's not hard to not be a dick.
I'm trying to think. I don't remember what the venue's called, but it was one that was straight up. You had to walk up the steps.
Of course.
Straight up.
Well, that's like a standard in Canada. They build every venue 2 flights up.
Yeah. If you're thinking about building a venue and you're like, okay, yeah, well, we need to make a venue in our little town and it'll be awesome. If the building, if there are steps, you've made a mistake. Start over.
You've made a mistake. Yes.
If the building available has stairs that go to a second floor where you're like, let's put a stage up there. Fuck you. Don't do that. Put it downstairs.
Yeah. Or better yet, put it in a hill so that the back door is not on the stairs, but the front door is. That's fine.
There you go.
You can do that.
That works.
Yeah.
Or at least have an elevator. Have a big elevator that can put everything in.
Dude, the old Masquerade's elevator and crew.
Incredible. The shaky.
Chef's kiss. They would just be like throwing cabs, and one guy would just ride up the like shaky elevator with all the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Masquerade, let's have you played the new Masquerade? Did we play there on? Yeah, we played there on the tour after the burial.
I've played a couple times, but I can't recall what tours they were on. And
insane that they were able to find another venue in Atlanta that also has 3 venues inside of a compound.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
it's like an abandoned mall, right? Like it's
Yeah, but
it's
how the hell did they do that? Though?
yeah.
That's just like, because when they were closing or moving locations, I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be like just a room now, and it's like, nope, it's a compound. If you've ever seen the movie Day of the Dead, the hallways downstairs, like that go behind all the venues, it reminds me of like the halls, like the underground tunnels from that movie.
Yep. Well, I've seen a lot of horror movies just being on tour with you guys, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, Scream every single day.
Just Vince would play a horror movie in the green room every day, so I would just come
and it
in.
was almost always Scream.
Yeah, pretty much.
We would. There was one tour where we watched Scream every single day of October.
Oh man. Oh yeah, that was a Halloween tour too. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because we did. We were Beavis and Butthead.
Amazing.
Like the whole cast.
And
I was Stuart.
It's so good. That was a fun show.
Yeah.
Shows can either go so like if you're playing a show on a holiday, it can either go so well or so bad, right? Because you're missing home. Like you'll never lose that. You're homesick when you're on tour, and then when you're home, you're like tour sick. It's really weird. But I remember being kind of bummed, and I didn't prepare for like a costume or anything. But then like everyone on the tour, and also a shared green room, we're just hanging out, putting makeup on each other. Is such a sick day.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because I think that once it was made known we were doing it, everyone was like, "Oh shit, yeah, let's all do costumes."
Yeah.
And we had like planned it out kind of. And I remember Make Them Suffer was just like 2 of them were Kiss.
Yes.
John was like Out of Snow from fucking Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Like,
so good.
There was no theme.
Yeah. You guys had a really intricate theme, and we just like I think I just did corpse paint, which I've never played a show in corpse paint, so it was sick. But
yeah, the last time we did a Halloween show, we were on tour with Chelsea Grin, and we were like, oh, the idea popped up like, oh, let's be Typo Negative, and it was like, no, let's be funnier than that. Let's all be Peter Steele from Typo Negative, so we all win as the same guy.
That's so good.
And of course, we think it's hilarious. And I'm like, at the time, I'm playing like my fucking neon, my Loch Ness green Ibanez RGD with the Typo Negative sticker, and we are all Peter Steele. And there's all these like Chelsea Grin fans who are just like, I don't know what this is. Why do all these people have this green shirt on and black jeans and long hair?
It's amazing. That's top tier humor to me, honestly. So good.
Yeah. The funniest part of it was Ollie. You know, my team knows Ollie is our tour manager, merch guy. He pretended to not get the memo, and he went as Peter Criss from Kiss. So it was 5 Peter Steeles and then Peter Criss with the cat makeup.
Just even more Peters, though. That's really good.
Yeah,
that's really good. That's amazing. I wish I had the like. I don't think that way. I'm not witty enough like that. It's just so good.
Because I'm just like, I want to do something absurd and stupid. Like that's.
Let's rewind it a little bit. Let's go back to talking. I mean, there's a gear section on my little layout, but we're already touching on some of it. How did you get into being an A&R and operations manager with this company?
Okay, so a couple years back, I want to say it was I still lived in Ohio, so it was 2017. I'd been with a bunch of pickup companies over the years. Like I was with Duncan for years, and I loved the pickups. The AR rep that I used to deal with, his name was Scott. He works for Yamaha, and he's incredible. He's like one of the people that I base the way I do like artist relations work off of, because he was so good at it. You would send him an email for something, and he would, even no matter what time it was, and it was never urgent, but he would always reply within like a half an hour. He would always, oh, you need this? Hell yeah, I'll get it out to you. When Coma Witch did really well, that record, he sent me like he'd left the company at that point, but he'd sent me like a Yamaha, one of those practice amps. It's like just a congratulations. Like, I'm not even a Yamaha artist, and it's just good guy.
Yeah.
But when he left, the guy that came in, like, I'm not going to name any names, but he was unresponsive all the time. And this went on for a long time of trying to get responses or be like, hey, I've sweat all over these pickups for several tours. They are severely corroded. I need to replace these. We have a tour in 3 months. And couldn't get an email back, or I'd get something that's like, oh yeah, like a month later, like, oh yeah, I'll send them out on Monday. And then a couple weeks go by, and I didn't want to be like, hey, you never sent those out, but I would send the email. It's like, hey, can I get tracking on those? I want to make sure they didn't get lost.
Yeah.
And wouldn't get a reply, or eventually I would get one that's like, oh, I was busy. And I'm like, thank you. I had to just buy pickups from somewhere because I needed them.
Yeah,
And
3 months is enough time.
An endorsement, as cool as it is to be able to get stuff through an endorsement's useless if you can't like use it.
Yeah.
And I had issues, and the guy that was above him, I emailed him about it, like, hey, this is a problem. This has been going on with not just me, but everybody else. Pat from Fit for an Autopsy, he left because of it. And I was like, is there anybody else I can work with? And they're like, nope, if you want to be one of our artists, he's your rep. And I was like, okay. It never got better.
Okay,
and I finally quit, and that dude ended up getting fired because a bunch of people jumped ship.
I knew, yeah, I was about to say that because I tried to meet their A&R rep at NAMM that year, and they were like, we don't have one. And I was like, you're fucking Seymour Duncan. Like, what are you doing?
So I jumped over to Fishman just because like Pat had gone there. Ken from Unearth is AR, and like, you know, I've toured with them. I like Ken, but the pickups just weren't for me. I don't particularly care for actives, and at the time they just had the Modern, and the Modern was voiced kind of based on the Nazgul, which was what I was playing before, and I never used that second voicing. So I'm like, why do I want an active pickup that I have to put batteries in that is voiced after the pickups I already have?
Yeah, I get that.
So then I tried some other things. Like I tried some lace pickups for a bit because they have a lot of 8-string stuff. I liked the fact that they could do like the custom etching stuff, but that's just cosmetic. Wasn't really like, the tone was fine, but it just didn't do it for me.
Man, you went on a journey.
I did. It was kind of a pain, but I ended up trying out Guitarmory when it was just owned by this guy in Nashville. Small brand, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to try this. I've heard good things about the Atlas set, and he sent me a set, and I had it in like 2 days, and I was really happy with it. And we went from there, and he came up to Columbus from Nashville, drove up in his truck with a bunch of guitars, and let me try every set that he has. And there was one set that was called the Warlord. He had a 7-string Warlord set, and I was like, played it through. At the time, I had a 1995 Rev G Mesa Dual Rec, and the thing kicked ass. And some of the pickups, I'm like, this is good, but this isn't like my sound. I put the Warlord in, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, I was like, I need this. I need these pickups from this guitar. So he took the pickups out of that guitar and put them into my Ibanez, and then took the Atlas pickups out and put them back into his. And like, I fell in love with those pickups. They're fucking awesome. And ended up loving those. And he eventually, like, he was just like a hobby builder, and you could see the company was starting to like get a little more traction, and he was like, so he sold it to Michael, who now owns the company. And Michael was just somebody that was like helping with sales. And from there we started working, like, and I'm like, I can help you get artists because I know people. I've worked with other companies. I know how they treat artists, so I can come in and be like, hey, I know you're not getting the treatment you would like and deserve.
Well, it's such a smart move too, to use like Ken from Unearth being Fishman's A&R.
Yeah.
Like, he
knows how to get, who's going to be like, no, I don't want to try those.
Well, yeah, not only that, but like, who are we going to connect with more than someone who's been in it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like,
somebody who's been in it, somebody who you've toured with. It's not just some guy who's like, oh, you might like these. And it's like, I've put these to the test myself. I know that these are good in a touring setting, because I've used stuff before where like AR guys have just been, you know, some guy, and you just get, you know, the sales pitch on them, and you try them, and you're like, it's all right, whatever the product is.
So did Michael like reach out to you about it, or?
No, I was just, as an artist, we were talking more and more. I was talking to him all the time because I was worried when he left. I was like, oh God, what's going to happen? Am I going to is this going to fizzle?
Yeah. Yeah.
But back then, before I even came on, we started working on like a signature pickup, and we based it around the Warlord. Because the Warlord used an Alnico 9 magnet, and at the time, and still they're not super common in guitar pickups. So sourcing them is difficult and kind of expensive. So we had our builder Adam basically work out a way to get the same sort of output and sound using ceramics. So we kind of altered the Warlord. It became the Cauterizer, which is my signature pickup.
Sick name.
And it's just really, it's thick while retaining like articulation, because sometimes you get some like really heavy like sludgy pickup, but once you try to do anything with like a big chord, any of those like higher notes are just getting lost and muddy. We don't want that.
We don't.
But yeah, I came on through there, and it got to a point where I'm like, hey, I can bring on other artists, and kind of jumped in then. And now it's like, it's evolved into operations where the team is very small. And I'm like, having ran like a business in the past, like just management and doing all the band stuff, I'm like, I know how to grow something, and here's how we need to be like operating. Here's how we need to be reaching out to artists, which has kind of been on hold because of the pandemic and just production issues, which are now done with.
Well, it's a weird time too, right? Because
Yeah,
it's almost like I feel bad when I reach out to a company, but at the same time, I'm like almost showing my face more through like digital platforms, making content.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
I feel like now I'm more so like in the eye than just being, yes, I have a mic for backup vocals on stage, but beyond that, like, you're just seeing me play guitar. I'm not talking to you about anything. It's not like in between songs I'm like, hey, if you guys like what you're hearing on stage, I'm playing Balaguer guitars. And
Yes.
speaking of, one time we Richie, our old guitar player, and I, we got this company sent us these LED no, they were basically glow in the dark like fret dot stickers that would go on your guitar, and you
Oh
can use.
God.
They actually worked really well, and they were
Oh,
like flush. But you charge them with an LED, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll send you this stuff, and we just want just talk about them on stage and like sell them at your merch table." And we were like, "Absolutely fucking
sell them
not."
at your merch table.
Like, you guys like these glow in the dark dots? Guess what? These are
okay.
glow dots from.
I would rather sell stuff at my merch table than like you said. Like, what am I gonna like between like guitar changes? But by the way, if you love these glowing dots,
they're like, if you'd like a banner for stage, we can. I'm like, no.
Oh man,
get out of here!
Someone somewhere is ripping a show with that stuff behind their.
Back in the day, Sam Ash Music used to sponsor bands, and they would give you like a big banner that you're supposed to hang up when you play.
You're just ripping in front of like a Sam Ash.
You like these guitars? We got them at Sam Ash.
Sam Ash scrims.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, Michael. So the guy that you said Michael took over, right? He bought it.
Yeah.
I actually eventually want to get, which you kind of would be my first in that zone, but I want to get like more people behind the gear industry coming on and talking about stuff. And I almost had Michael on, but he was overseas stationed. I didn't know that part about him. That was insane.
He is in the Navy, and he's up in Sacramento.
Okay.
So he is home, but yeah, sometimes part of me being operations manager as well is like, I am kind of like running the show when he's unavailable. He trusts me, I trust him, so it's just we're usually on the same page with stuff and how stuff needs to operate and what's a good idea and what's a bad idea. But there's some times where it's like there's something critical or like a good opportunity that pops up, and it's like, oh well, he's on a mission somewhere, so
crazy.
I can't just be like, yeah, you'll just have to wait for him to get back.
He seems super willing and nice. I mean, I even asked him to be on the podcast. It didn't work out, but he was in like Spain or something, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And I was like, "Are you sure?"
He'll just drink 100 cups of coffee and be like, "I'm good to go. Let's go."
Yeah, what a legend.
Yeah, dude. We already booked the rooms for next year's NAMM just in case it happens. He's like, "I want to make sure we're set," and at first he's like, would this be good? And he sends me like the reservation thing, and he booked like 6 rooms for like 8 days at the fucking Hyatt. And I'm like, that's no.
That's
It's like
so
15
expensive.
grand. And
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, stop. And he's like, well, he's like, I don't know if we're gonna have more people coming with us. And it's like, you don't pay until it's due, so you can cancel some of that. But I'm like, no. I'm like, dude, you are in the military. I am in a stupid band.
Yeah.
We both sleep on the ground all the time.
Especially this
Like,
far
I
in
could-
advance, you just get a whole house Airbnb across the street. You're fine.
True. But I'm just like, I don't care if everyone from the brand has to share a room. I'll sleep on the floor if it saves us money.
True.
Because the more money we save is the more money that's left for us to like profit off of.
And invest in other ventures, you know, get your name out there more.
Yeah, because most of our profits have either gone to unfortunately towards refunding people who've been waiting too long through the pandemic,
That sucks.
Definitely an unfortunate side effect of production issues with, because Adam, our builder, who was, like I said, he's great. He's now all of another brand is, we finally have the manufacturing thing set up, so he's now resigned to just when we want to develop a new product, he'll help us with that. But
Okay.
he's got his own brand, Elysian Pickups, and he's got a full-time job. Because of the pandemic, he's like, I'm not willing to leave that and lose my benefits. So it's like he's winding for us like in his free time after his work and other company. So it's like the time is just not there. So people have been waiting longer than we would have liked, than anyone would have liked. And so we've been, whenever somebody needs a refund, they get it. But we'd like to be turning that money into like more pickups to have in stock if somebody wants to order something that isn't custom, or to put into this guitar brand we're starting. So it's been an interesting year, but we're getting through it.
It's interesting to hear, like, I mean, you're on both sides of it, but like as a touring musician, that side sucks, and as a brand, you know, that sucks too. It's just, but let me know if this is similar to how you think, but I've been in a comfort as of late knowing that everyone's in the shitter together. Like, it kind of keeps me from getting too depressed, because I'm like, well, you know, it sucks for everybody.
Because that's the thing, is it's not like you're sitting at home while every other band is going out and like touring, and you're like you're falling behind. It's like everyone's in the same position.
Yeah.
And if a band is out there playing shows, they're breaking you know, technically not laws, but they're being stupid and putting a lot of people at risk. So
yeah, it's like I can sit at home knowing that John Mayer's not playing a show right now, and you know, no one
your fans aren't migrating over to John Mayer.
Hey, they might, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player.
Dude's got a voice.
Monster player.
Yeah, he's insane. A lot of people are like, you like John Mayer as a guitar player? I'm like, yes, he shreds.
Yeah. I also think he's hilarious. When I was younger, I was like, man, John Mayer's like a cocky dickhead. I'm like, no, John Mayer's hilarious.
Funny.
He's messing with people most of the time.
I remember this video way back in the day where he put like a mascot bear suit on.
The bear
yes,
costume.
Dude. And he was like walking around the parking
John
lot.
Mayer.
And it's literally him. And so many people didn't know.
He's just messing with people. Oh no, his name is John Mayer.
Could you imagine being a fan, like a diehard fan, that happening to, and then seeing that YouTube later, and you're like,
yeah, and you're like,
fuck,
what? Because you know he didn't go back later. I was like, actually, it was me, John Mayer.
No, he just trolled him. He's like, all right,
he's too famous.
Have fun at your John Mayer concert, and then Bear walked away.
The John Mayer on Chappelle's show. Play the fight riff.
Yes.
So sick.
I watched him. He like filled in for someone on a talk show for like a week, and I watched that.
Yeah.
It was sick.
I have to check that out. That sounds good.
Yeah, it was good. The dude's funny. Like, even his Instagram still is hilarious.
That's the thing. I think you gotta like keep a sense of humor, like, to be interesting. At least for me, like I like trying to portray some sense of humor and not just being like, yeah, we're like a very serious band and here's our music, and it's the music stands on its own as like being serious and whatever. And sometimes the song titles are just
scary. Yeah,
song titles are sometimes funny. Music videos are always a joke, because I'm like, we all hate filming music videos, so it's just like, let's make this stupid.
Yeah.
The video for Cauterizer was like a serious video, and we like fought. We were like, we don't want to do this. We just want to do something funny. And then after, because that was our first video with Rise, I think. And then after that, like they were okay, yeah, we get it. And then we did the Send Help video, which is us at a fucking bowling alley.
Yep.
And then
which, okay, I didn't even think about this, but it's good you're here because so many people, when Acacia Strain signed to Rise, they all were like, "Oh, here we go. They're gonna start singing and selling out." I'm like, guys, it's Acacia Strain. Like,
yeah.
if anything, Rise Records is signing them to gain more of a different, diverse following because people just put too much weight behind band labels. Like, labels do not control bands at all.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
It's not the old days where it was like a label's like, we want you to sound like this. This is marketable. This is how we're going to market this. Now it's like a label wants you because they think you're going to be a good investment. It's essentially a bank.
Yes, I've said that so many times.
They're giving you a loan
yeah.
for your record, and they want to make their money back, and then you profit off of whatever's left. And
well, and so did you hear that? Did you guys hear that a lot? Like, oh
yeah,
okay.
People are like, oh god, here we go, and like they're cue the synth player, and they're gonna have clean singing, and it's gonna be they're gonna do dubstep now, and it was just like, no,
so
they
weird.
Gave us the best deal.
Yeah.
Rise lets us do whatever we want. When we did Coma Witch, when I joined the band, it's like, hey, can we just do a 7-inch, which we did Above and Below, and they're like, yeah, sure. So we did it. When we wanted to do Coma Witch, and we were like, hey, can we do a second record with this? And it's going to be one single 30-minute song. And they were like, yeah, sure, we'll do a double disc. That'll be great. No issues there.
Yeah.
When we said, hey, can we want to do like an experimental kind of doom record called It Comes in Waves, and we want our friends label to release it, and they were like, yeah, sure, that'll be cool.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it sounds like more freedom than other labels.
Yeah,
and it's like
we have 100% freedom to do whatever we want. They let us put out a record by putting out 2 songs at a time on 5-inch EPs and then sell a record after that.
Yeah,
most labels are like, no. When we were on, this is before I was in the band, but when we were in Prosthetic, when the band did the Dead Walk, Vincent had the idea of putting a lead plate in the CD book to make it physically the heaviest release of 2006. And it was stupid, but it was funny, and that would get attention. And they were just like, no, why would we do that? That would cost more money. Rise, if we would have pitched that to Rise, it would have been like, yeah, absolutely.
That is freaking hilarious.
But yeah, like, Prosthetic was always unwilling to do things like that, and they re-release the old stuff, and cool. That way it gives people a way to get their hands on it, but Rise lets us do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah. It's good to clear that up and talk about that, because like everyone's so label driven. I mean, I get it. I guess it was the way it worked back in the day, and like everyone's still chasing that rock star type pop off that people used to have.
And it's like with where we were at, like Wormwood was huge for the band. After that was when the old contract expired, so we were looking for a new label. We could have gone with anybody.
Yeah.
We had other offers on the table. The band went with Rise because it was the best deal, and I think from what I was told, everyone else, everything was over email. Craig, the old owner of Rise, flew out to Massachusetts to meet up and buy everybody lunch, and that was like what sealed it.
Yeah,
it was like this guy was willing to put in that extra bit of effort.
It's personal too, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You're like, because beyond like when you get to that level, any label is gonna be like, hey, they know what they're doing, they're making it work. We're not gonna interfere. And I don't think any of the deals that were offered were bad deals. But you also have to factor in the whole, like, do I want to deal with these people on a regular basis? And Rise Records, yes, I do.
Yeah.
And since then, like BMG came in, and for a minute we were like, oh no, are they gonna stop giving a shit about us? And like, Sean Haydorn runs Rise, and he's incredible. Whenever we have an idea, he's like, yeah, love it. And BMG has just given him more avenues to make things happen,
which in turn is good for you guys again. So it's like,
when Slow Decay fully came out, like Apple Music tweeted about it, and Sean was like, we've been chasing this for years. Apple Music has never tweeted about a fucking Rise band, and you're the first one. And we're like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And it's because, with the BMG support, Sean sent out little personalized slow decay care packages with like sunflowers and like wine and stuff to all these people that work for Apple Music. And it's little things like that like we didn't say anything about that. He just did it.
Right.
It's like Rise has been in our corner 100%.
Well, and like once again, it boils down to a good A&R guy too. Again, it's like yeah, having a dude for a label who cares about you, it makes it a personal connection. Does the hard work that you need them to. If no one's gonna work for you, there's no point in working with them either. You know what I mean? And that stretches that point, across.
Like besides releasing a record, because you can do it yourself at this point. It's like a label, obviously, besides fronting you the money, like you need them to be doing their part to promote and to play ball behind the scenes and get things to happen. And they're just always in our corner. It kicks ass.
You can quite literally take a loan out from a real bank and release your own record and just recoup everything. But there's tools sometimes labels use to help you.
Yes, if they want to. I've been on. When I was in Oceano, we were signed to Earache Records. Fun fact: Earache Records has me blocked on Twitter because
you're too free thinking, man.
They had Oceano signed. Again, they signed before I joined the band. They signed Oceano to a 360 deal, which is basically they own the rights to your music, your merchandise. They get a cut of your touring profits. It's a nightmare. People don't do that anymore because everyone is like, "What the hell? No."
Well, it's like it's like the only way we can make money nowadays. You know what I mean? It's like it's all we have left.
From what I was told, the old guitar player, instead of like them having a lawyer look over it and say, "No, this is garbage," he had his grandma look over the contract, and she's like, "Oh, looks good." And so they signed it, and so they would Earache would have we play like New York, and they'd have a dude show up from the label to like collect money, and we were like, "No, get out of here." Like, why would we just give you money? Yeah. We're on tour.
Yeah, we need this to literally survive and get to other shows. And
yeah, and I'm like, to this day, I've never like. So we did Contagion, which is a really well selling record for them. I have never seen one fucking cent from that in terms of royalties or anything. And it's like, I know damn well, I know what we paid to make that record. I know they recouped a long time ago. Yeah. A long time ago. Yeah. And I think it was sometime after, like I was like, they Oceano released a record, and people were like, "Did everyone get their record?" And I was like, "I still haven't gotten Contagion yet." And they're like, "What, really?" And I'm like, "Oh, actually, I mean, I haven't gotten any of my royalties for Contagion. The record I wrote that you guys are robbing us for, blocked."
Yeah, blocked.
Yeah.
Oh, he speaks too much truth. Yeah, it's a bummer.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
It sucks. There's so many. Earache sucks now. Like, they don't have anybody signed to them that is. They keep trying to do like random like butt rock stuff. It's weird.
It's also funny the rise and fall of that kind of stuff too. I mean, I remember growing up.
They had Morbid Angel, At the Gates, all kinds of just legendary bands, and I'm just like, bands that I love that I'm like, I'm not going to buy this record from this label because I do not want to give them money in any way, shape, or form.
Well, and not only that, but if you treat your bands like shit, bands are going to stop signing with you. Like, it's just a thing.
Right. Which they have.
Yeah. And then you're putting the nail in your own coffin, as, every shitty company seems to do. But it's like justice is served at that point. You know what I mean? Like, when you're treated like shit and then they.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's what goes around comes around, as they say.
Yeah.
Whoever they are.
Those darn kids.
Yeah.
I love grandma equals lawyer, I guess. Thanks, grandma. That's
pretty much.
Hilarious.
Well, she's old. She's got experience.
She's wise.
Yeah, wise beyond her years.
So did you sign Pat to Guitarmory, or was he part of the company before?
I brought him in. Cool. What the funny thing is, I knew about Guitarmory because of Pat.
Oh, that is very funny. Okay.
So the old owner, he got some pickups from him, and he wanted to join on because he really liked what he had. But Pat also knowing like what the capabilities were from like an artist relations standpoint and like promoting an artist. He was like, okay, instead of you hiring somebody or whatever, if I can get this sort of budget to handle video production and all this stuff to like get the word out about this stuff, like I will do this for you and get you great content. And that scared the dude off kind of, and he was like, no, we can't do that. And it just kind of fizzled. But then after Michael took over, I'm like, no, I know for a fact we can get Pat back because I'm very good friends with Pat.
Right. It
He's
doesn't
gonna have
get any
somebody
easier
on.
at that point.
Yeah. And it's just like he knows he can trust me. I trust him. You know, he's got his Ferox and Terry's humbucker set. If anyone likes Fit for an Autopsy, his set sounds awesome. I think
Plenty
there
of
are
people
some,
love Fit for an Autopsy. I mean, the sheer fact that Will Putney records and is in that band, like,
yeah,
Putney is a titan. But then Pat
absolutely.
shreds, so it's like it just works. Yeah, dude. There's like the couple of names in the genre, you know. Pat's up there with like Aaron Marshall from Intervals. That just like stuff he touches, people pay attention to.
Yeah.
So I think that was a solid move.
Yeah, and now that the new shop is they basically have a lot like our 7 and 8 string parts are like on order, and once they have those and can start taking like all orders, that's when I'm going to finally start like branching back out to do artist relation stuff, because I've just kind of been holding back because I don't want to be like, hey, do you want all this stuff? Did that stuff ever show up for you?
But
okay, let me
I mean, around
there were some
the time that you asked. So my girlfriend runs an online business selling purses, and like she knows where every bag is at every time of the day, and she knows, like, long story short, our postal service has been fucked lately.
Oh,
so
yeah,
like
everywhere.
I'm just not. I don't hold my breath on things coming when they should come, or like anything like that.
Because I know that we had those in stock sets. Basically, there are some people that would get so fed up with their waits, they're like, they get a refund, and it's like, it was almost done.
it was
and then and it's like, because it's in progress, it's like, we'll finish it, and then it just becomes an in stock set. And for me, I would be upset if like I wanted this thing and I waited. And as much as I was trying to communicate with everybody, like, hey, everything is still being worked on, I would be bummed out if I like got a refund for something, and then like 2 weeks later it shows up like for say it was finished, and I'm like, damn it.
Yep.
Although you could just turn around and buy it again. But
yeah, that's true.
They became in stock sets, and I was like, okay, well, so this should be coming to you. Let me I'll look into that.
Well,
again,
like
it's hard being that I'm in Northern California. The pickups are in Texas.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool. Is that where they're made currently? Like some of them are just warehouse?
That's where Adam's at.
Okay.
But the new facility is in Boise, so pretty much everything Adam was working on, they are finishing, and everything is en route to them. And I'm very excited to get over that. It's just been a nightmare. Like we closed the shop for like months, just like, we got to catch up.
Yeah.
And it still just wasn't enough time to like get everything caught up, because it's like, we're not going to take more orders to put on this pile of things that aren't getting done.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, but that was when I came in as operations manager. I'm like, step one, we shut down, which sucks. I don't want to do, but it's no point taking orders when you're going to end up having to refund them, because
right, you got to think of things in the long, like the big picture. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
if getting some pickups to a couple people is more important than shutting down and like saving the health of your entire company, you know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah, and that's I'm very big picture in that sense of like, this is more important. But now I'm going to start very shortly reaching out to artists. Obviously, you're somebody I would love to get on board, and I'll make sure those get to you so you can try them.
Yes. Yeah, I'm right now, because I'm not touring. Typically, it's so funny. The times that I have the least time to like tinker and play with different stuff is when I'm on tour, because you can't mess up that pattern and flow of your every night ritual, your tone. Like if I put new
You don't.
pickups in my guitar right before I went out on stage, I would be so nervous.
Oh yeah, I did that on the last tour.
Props to you, man.
Because granted, so I had the Balaguers that they let me use while I was waiting on my guitars to be built. We played in Austin right before the shutdown, and our builder, like he had the bridge pickup for me for my signature set, which I'm already familiar with. So he
Right. I
brought
mean,
one
that's
out.
less drastic than going from like
Yeah,
a Fishman.
but still,
to,
like I
yeah.
had my like Kemper and everything, the patch, like all the gates and everything set for this
Yes.
stock pickup that was a little noisy. So I'm like, I have to go in. And he didn't show up until like after doors. So we're like doing a pickup swap
Oh
like
no.
during the show,
No.
and I'm on stage like for check, like trying to get it right. So that was fun.
Yeah, I could. I would
But I was like,
never.
oh, finally, it sounds great.
I would just be like, nope, sorry, catch me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that being said, like I'm trying out, different amps and pickups and stuff while I'm home, and I mean, if anything, I can use this time productively to get everything dialed in to the best of its ability.
Yeah.
Let's talk about as a guitar player. Obviously, you play Balaguer guitars and
Yeah.
your pickups. What other stuff? I mean, you use a Kemper Live. Do you miss?
Yeah, use a Kemper Live.
Do you miss amps?
In some scenarios I do, but then I think about all of the years I spent touring with, even something as simple as like a 6505 or a 5150. An amp I always love, an amp that ends up on every one of our records, but using them in a live setting, I like the option of having my Kemper and just being like, yep, rig's the same every night, turn it on.
Yeah.
We run DI out of the Kemper, but we also run to the cabs, and depending on stage size, we will mic or not mic the cabs. But it's mainly for stage volume.
Yeah, when we swapped to in-ears, we just completely got rid of cabs, and it still hurts me. Like every time I play a show, I miss it so bad. And
Yeah, I see. I think that cabs are imperative. Even that we got ears, like we got Ghost Inside gifted us their whole in-ear rig because they upgraded.
insane.
So we got that. All we have to do is get ears, which we got that thing right at the end of. We were at Zach from the Ghost Inside's house when we found out the tour was canceled. Like, because we had like 2 days off, so we went to Vegas. He had the rig, and he's like, "Yeah, we took it," and it was like, show canceled, show canceled, show canceled. Then it was like, fuck, the tour's canceled. So, that sucked. But so we're like, all right, well, this won't be that long. By the next tour, we'll have ears molded. I still need to get that done, and like order a set of ears, like the actual drivers and everything.
Right. Yeah.
But as far as like all the other stuff, we have that now. But I'm still gonna want to have cabs, if not just for stage volume, for us to even like feel it and everything. But a lot of venues, as you know, like when you're there, you're a concert goer. You're wanting to hear and feel the band. You go right up in the front row, and the PA is spread very wide. Everything is to the right and left of you. Sound is moving out. You're mainly just going to hear the drums and not much on stage. It's kind of weird. I saw Periphery in a situation like that once, and I was like very bummed out because
I've heard of that.
The PA was not strong enough to like really give a full sound. There needed to be stage volume that just wasn't there.
Well, I know there's been venues we've played where that's been the case too, just because. And like we even talked about bringing cabs just for emergency situations like that, but even then, like you're bringing cabs in a trailer. It's
sick.
Yeah, dude.
It rules.
Yeah. I mean, I just miss cabs in general. They're the sickest.
Yeah. Like we're a very loud band, as you know. Like,
yes.
I like having all that shit set up. I don't like doing the fake dummy cab thing. It's just like cab, plug them in, play them loud. And then whenever there's like, especially if you're playing with a house sound guy who's like, oh, can you bring your stage volume down a little bit? And you're like, yeah, sure. And then you pretend to do it. Or you do it for him to check, and then you go, nope, and go right back.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah, I miss cabs a lot. But even then, when you get your ears molded and you slam those things in there, you'll be like amazed how much you can't hear too. I play with one ear out, which is terrible for my hearing.
Yeah. I've got constant tinnitus because I don't play with earplugs, which is stupid.
Yeah, but it's just it affects the way I
I've
play.
tried so yeah, that's the thing for me. Every single time that I am playing a show where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start wearing earplugs. I've tried so many different ones. I guess it would be different if I had like molded specifically to my ear, like high end ones. I can never hear what's going on. It's just like, it goes from jun 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 to just like,
Yeah.
it's just like,
Well, so
I'll get a song through and I'm just like, ugh, and those get thrown to the fucking wind.
and earwax just sticks to some guy's forehead in the mosh pit.
Yeah.
I want to try out ported ears because those are sick, and there's
Yeah.
even companies that do like decibel selection stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can you can hear like 10 to 20 to 30 decibels depending on which like plugs you put in the
Yeah, like I would like to be able to lower the volume of it, but I also just like I'm kind of just like fuck it.
I mean that's my
Um,
entire mentality when taking an ear out is just
which sucks. I think I'll think that my hearing is bad, but then we'll be at like the grocery store or something, and I'll be like, oh hey, they're playing, this song, and my fiance or whoever, anybody I'm with is like, how can you hear that? And I'm like, you don't hear that?
I can't. Like, I think my girlfriend's always just like, yo, they're playing a sick song in the grocery store. And I'm like, huh?
What?
Yeah.
I'll hear stuff like that, but then somebody will say something to me directly in my face.
You're just looking off. You're like,
huh?
Huh? What? That's amazing.
What were you saying something?
Selective hearing.
Yeah.
You have selective deafness. God. What are you putting through your Kemper? What's the amp?
Whatever Tom made.
All right.
So it's all based on 5150.
Okay.
He built the stuff I want to say using like the stock amps that are in there. So we'll play stuff and be like, what are you guys using? And it's like just whatever's in there. It's all about like gating it properly.
Yeah.
Getting the right boost, right amount of gain. And also, since we're playing through cabs, we use the so we have the powered Kempers and we're running into they don't make the cabs anymore, but they're the orange PPC 412 HP, which stands for high powered. So it's 4 Celestion G12K 100s. So it's a 400 watt cab. It can get very loud, but it also has a ton of headroom so that you're like, especially low tunings, they don't sound as good in a Vintage 30, which is, the most popular speaker of all time. But the 100 watt Celestions, they sound really good for like the really tight low end stuff. And having the orange cab that is already kind of compact and there's not much space inside for the low end to bounce around and kind of fizzle out. It gets pushed out really hard. Part of the reason,
damn, I've never heard of those. That sounds so sick.
Yeah, they're great.
But you said they stopped making them?
Yeah, because it's just most orange people wanted the Vintage 30s. They weren't a very popular cabinet. I learned about that cabinet when I was in Oceano because Josh Travis was using them for Danza. And even anytime I've seen him after that, like we'll play St. Louis or something and he'll come out and he's been using Mesa stuff for years, but he's still like, damn, I miss those cabs.
Yeah, we did a tour with Glass Cloud way back in the day and he was Mesa, which he liked Mesa. Yeah. I actually prefer Mesa cabs over everything else at this point too, I think.
Yeah, I would prefer a Mesa cab over a normal orange.
30. Yeah.
But the high powered cabs, those speakers, they do something for me because for most like Mesa oversized cabs, again we're playing in drop F. It's low.
Yeah.
Drop G sharp and drop F, and
same.
That low end there's the oversized cabs. There's a lot of room for that low end to kind of bounce around before it like gets pushed out. It's not as tight. It's a little bit more loose, and so you get that kind of like an almost spongy tone. And for some of our stuff, we want it to be very tight and very like gun, just fucking machine gun fire.
Well, I think tightness is so important when you tune low too, because everything else is already working against you, right? The fat strings, the low tunings, it's all trying to lean towards mush.
And so it's very important to dial in correctly to not deal with that. The plus side is you can still buy an orange 412 and just swap the speakers out, because we did that with the 212s.
Right, I was gonna ask if there's a way to just mod them or if someone will do that stuff.
We got those 212s. We were able to get like artist pricing from Celestion to get the 100-watt speakers for the 212s, and then we just sold the unused vintage 30s from those for like what we paid for the new ones. So we sold them at a deal for most people and basically did the swap for free.
Is putting in those other speakers all like, is that all that raises the wattage of that cab?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess so. All that cabs are just speakers and a box built around them,
right? The speakers just clip in. You didn't even have to solder anything.
Okay. That's sick. Dang. We have 2 4x12 black Tortex orange cabs that we used.
Yeah.
But we also used those back when we were A sharp. Because we did like the first couple of records in A sharp, and then we went to G sharp, and now we're in F sharp. It's just like, just keep getting lower.
So I seriously order. If do you play through your cab at home at all?
I have. So when I'm home, I have a Mesa 1x12.
Yeah,
that looks like a little. It looks like a little half cab, like it's a slanted cab.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's sick.
I have my Samson studio monitors.
Yes,
that I've had since like 2008.
Well, so right now I have like the nerdiest rig ever. I have that Rev that has the twin torpedoes built into it, and it's split between my 1x12 and my studio monitors, and I can play like I can do like stereo basically with all of them on. And that's sick. That's like, that gets my goat for sure. Like, I like to say that as guitar players, we all miss being like 14, 15 years old, just like slamming through a full stack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My first like real amp that wasn't like a little combo that I got like hand me down or whatever. I went and bought a PV double XL head with a 1980s Randall 412.
Fuck yes.
That had like, so I got lucky because it was just like, that was the cheapest cab at Music Go Round. And it was those old Randalls. They had these, they're Randall speakers, but they were called Jaguars. And those are like one of the closest approximations to a vintage 30 you could like find at the time. So they were good speakers for a very cheap cabinet. It was like $160.
I had a really weird rig growing up. Like I went through, I remember I had a crate combo through like most of did. Yeah. It had the tuner built into it, which was sick.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah,
then you didn't have to buy one.
Nope. God, I played a lot of shows with that thing. It was sick. It was like a 150 watt, I think. And then I can't even remember the name of the company, but I remember enjoying it. It was like the logo was like the face of a bulldog. Is a British. Do you know what I'm talking about? Man, I gotta figure this out. Amp company, bulldog.
I'm trying to
base logo. This is where I need Jamie from the Joe Rogan podcast. Jamie, fucking Google that shit real quick.
Yeah, look this up for me.
No, you know what? I have a chat for that. Someone figure out what that amp.
Yeah,
figure that out. You guys are my Jamie collectively.
I'm glad back in that era too. Like there are the brands like a big brand for this scenario that I'm going to bring up was Madison amps.
Yes,
which was they were a company that started off and they're like, oh, we're going to make our company big by endorsing anybody that asks. So every local band had a Madison endorsement, and they're like, oh yeah, well, we get artist pricing, and it's like, no, idiot, that's just what they sell those for. They mark them up a lot more, and then when they give you artist pricing, that's what they actually want to sell them for, and you've been duped.
That's pretty amazing.
And it was basically, they were just like Marshall clones. They weren't horrible, but they weren't great. Nothing you would buy besides the fact that you're like, oh wow, I got an endorsement.
Right.
The local band special.
God, what was I thinking? Sorry, I'm like super scatterbrained today too. For those of you wondering why I keep shaking this juice, I'm doing a juice cleanse today because I've been eating too much processed vegan foods and it's been causing
juice.
Yeah, I'm juicing right now. Did you see? And like, so I'm chasing that high. I'm chasing the dragon of always wanting to go back to like just slamming like a 4x12 in my bedroom, or
Yeah.
like in like a empty room or something. Because nothing feels better than that. Like even
No.
still, playing in a massive venue, making those insanely like if you play a breakdown in a huge venue, it's sick.
There's
It's
something
cool.
special about it.
Yeah, it's
Like
yeah, for sure. But then there's
one
still
of
if you don't have that cab behind you, it takes away like 70% of it.
one of my seriously my favorite parts of the day happens twice. When I get my rig set up, when we're setting up for sound check, and I get that couple minutes of just being able to play like whatever the fuck I want
Preach, dude.
through the
Preach.
cab, like at
Yeah.
full volume, and then line check, I'm just like, what riff am I gonna get to play for 15 seconds before they're like, yep, good, and I'm like, oh, hold on a second, I just want to play a little bit more.
Especially when like there's no crowd in the venue and you're just
Yeah.
slamming it through this empty hall. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's just or when you're playing, especially when you're checking with like a low tuned guitar and it's just thick, and
Yeah.
you get that first like jun jun jun, and there's a couple people like woo, and you're like hell yeah.
Yes. Man.
It's a good feeling, and
I almost that's
as much
making
as
me like sadder about not being on tour talking about that than actually
yeah,
talking about shows.
like as much as you love playing your own songs, you also you kind of get put on like muscle memory, and just like you're on autopilot a bit, like going through the songs, and you're just like you're not that's not you practicing guitar, that's you just like, yep, this is the thing, same thing.
Dude, I get
So
worse
that
at
little
playing guitar on tour. Cuz
you're
I'm
like
like just doing what I should be doing and making sure I'm hitting those notes at that time of the night, opposed to like working on my techniques, like getting
because you don't want to
stamina.
sit in the green room dicking around with your guitar, and then you're like, if I play too much, then I'm going to wear these out a little bit more, and I'm going to have to change these strings sooner.
Yes. Yeah.
Guitar strings are my enemy.
Dude, me too. It sounds like you have the same problem as me. Do you have corrosive sweat like I do, to where
Yeah, it wasn't always that way. Like it's just kind of started over the last decade or so, as your body chemistry just changes. But I mean, I change my strings probably every 3 to 5 days.
okay.
Um,
I mean, that's
and I
like
kind of
that's good. That's like what you should be doing. Like
yeah, unless at some point in there, if there is a day off and my guitar just sits in the trailer, then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna swap these at the start of the next show.
yeah.
But usually it's like 3 to 5 days, depending on like if we're doing a lot of climate changes, it's probably closer to 3. But I'll do sound check and I'll get that like kind of like, how are these sounding? How do they feel? Because I'm pretty good at feeling like, yeah, these are gonna. I usually don't feel like, oh, these are gonna break, but I'm like, these are a little dull. Better change them.
Yeah. I admittedly typically go a little longer than I should on tour about changing strings, and I'm just so terrible.
Because I tend to, especially now that I have like plenty of backup stuff, I'll likely be, instead of going 3 to 5 days straight with like whatever guitar, with another guitar being my backup, I'm just gonna swap every show and drag it out so I can do like one big string change like every like 8 to 10 days.
Yeah.
And be like, yes.
Yeah, I've seen bands do that, and it makes sense.
Yeah, because all my guitars are fixed bridge with locking tuners, so I'm just like pull the string tight, lock it in. That's really it.
I only have one guitar
terrible.
with locking tuners, and it's like so much better. It's such a better quality of life. I don't understand why every guitar put out doesn't have them on it. It's insane.
Get more locking tuners.
Yeah, I know.
Send an email or a text message to Mike Arrigo.
I know.
And say, hey, can you send me some of your Ibanez locking auto trim tuners?
But
They're
even then,
things.
like sometimes, like you get a guitar and you're like, surely this will have locking tuners. Like, why doesn't it come stock? It just
no, every guitar. When I would get guitars from them, I'm like, make sure it has locking auto
Yeah.
trim tuners. If not, just unless it was like an 8-string where they didn't have like the 4x4 locking auto trims, I'm like,
Right.
please give me locking tuners.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important inventions for guitar has been locking tuners. Nothing pisses me off more than when I'm like, would I have to get how many wraps are on the string post on
Yeah.
this stupid piece of shit?
I even typically try to make sure I'm doing it like correctly, where I'm like looping it up and around and down, and then just like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Dude, I put them on because also like we have like a D'Addario deal, and they have also Planet Waves locking auto trim tuners, which feel identical to the Ibanez ones.
Okay, it's good to know.
So any guitar I've had that doesn't have those tuners, I just get them
Yeah,
from D'Addario, throw them on. Like I threw them. Like I have a '77 Ibanez Les Paul copy, and it had original hardware, and I'm like, don't care, putting these on
Nope,
there.
don't care. Yeah, I mean it. Like I said, it's quality of life, like purely. Let's I have a bit of like a backbone to the podcast that I like to like kind of hit. We've touched on a lot of stuff so far, and that's sick. I like when this happens organically and it's just friends hanging out. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Let's talk about young Devin learning guitar and like getting into finding the passion that you have today.
Oh, absolutely.
What bands were you listening to or like trying to copy or like slamming their records?
First and foremost, CKY.
Okay. Sick.
At the time, Darren Miller was a huge inspiration. Because I used to I skateboarded, and like many people, I had the CKY videos, and you'd hear the music. Obviously, everyone heard like 96 Quite Bitter Beings. But there'd be videos like him playing guitar, and I'm like, oh, I want to play guitar. And also just being more into like heavy metal. And that band, like he was big into death metal, so it like got me into a lot of like death metal bands when I was in like middle school.
That's amazing.
Because at the time, so I started off, I played drums first. I was in like band. So our middle school went 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So for 4 years, I was in band, doing percussion. And so in my head, I was like, oh yeah, I'm a drummer. But I'm like, I always wanted to play guitar.
Yeah.
And ended up. So I also in like 6th grade, I liked Korn, but at that point didn't play guitar at all. And I was like, I wanted an Ibanez K7. It was
yeah,
because I would see it in like the heavy metal magazines.
I mean, those are sick guitars still, honestly.
Yeah, still a great guitar. And I kept telling my mom like that's what I want for Christmas. And Christmas rolls around, and there's a guitar, like a guitar shaped cased wrapped present.
Yeah,
and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, hell yeah, that's it, the Ibanez K7. Keep in mind, being that I was just seeing this in like music magazines and not like music gear magazines, I had no clue what it cost. I had no clue that it was like a $1,600 guitar.
Yeah.
So I open it, and it is an acoustic guitar. The brand is Excel.
Nice.
It was a very cheap and very bad guitar, and I got it and didn't touch it for months. Eventually started dicking around with it one day, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. And I had a friend who gave me, it was a Harmony electric.
Okay.
And it only had 5 tuners on it because one had broken off. So it was a 5-string Harmony electric.
I played an acoustic 5-string for a little while. Tuning peg broke up.
So then I traded that to somebody for a 6-string Samick Strat copy. The caveat to that was that the electronics didn't work. So I had a 6-string guitar, but it didn't work.
Once again, you went on a journey.
Yeah. And then the journey continues. Finally, for my birthday, I was able to get a real working electric guitar. I got an Epiphone Goth SG Special from Media Play.
Okay.
Which was the old place to go buy CDs back in Columbus, Ohio. And had it for a while. I was like, this is awesome. This is great. I love this. Being that I was trying to learn CKY stuff, I was also trying to learn how to do guitar spins.
Oof.
Did a guitar spin. No strap locks because I didn't know that was a thing that existed.
Right.
Headstock first, straight into the ground, neck shattered into about 1 million pieces. So went back to only having the non-functioning Samick, and eventually this is my start into the guitar tech world, where my mom's ex-boyfriend at the time, who was an electrician, he helped me figure out how to wire in all of the electronics from the Epiphone that was broken into the non-functioning Strat,
Nice. That's sick.
and I'm sitting there like I had the pick guard off of this thing because it was single coils and these are humbuckers. So I'm
Right.
like using a file to like open up the pickup
Cavity.
route.
Oh my
Yeah, to
gosh.
make it fit. And
Dude, that's such a. It's like hearing Eddie Van Halen talk about making the Frankenstein. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like
and
it's
the funny
so
thing is I ended up doing a Frankenstein, like a Frankenstrat finish on that. It
it's
was horrible.
so
So
sick.
I didn't know what I was doing. The base like white layer I painted with a brush, and I'm like, this sucks. I'm
It's
gonna
like,
use spray paint for the rest of it. So it was like wavy. But yeah, so it started with like,
dude, where is that guitar? That guitar
huh?
sounds sick. Where is it?
Dude, I don't even know. Like
Yeah.
there was a kid that was friends with my old band's drummer. Um, I or no, our old guitar player, he had a Squire Bullet, like one of those Strats, and the neck broke on it. And I was like, here, you can take the neck off of this, because at that point I'd like gotten nicer guitars.
Right.
So he was playing the Squire with a random like Samick neck on it that had a fucking Frankenstrat headstock. And then
That's so punk rock though. Like I
the
just
body,
love
I
that
don't know where the
story.
hell
You
I
know what I
don't know
mean?
where the body went, but that's
Okay.
somewhere. It's somewhere. I didn't throw it away, I don't think.
So you have like a fake Fender Strat with a Frankenstyle paint job and Epiphone electronics in it,
Yeah.
and you're slamming CKY in your bedroom.
Oh yeah.
That's
Through my
so
crate
sick.
amp.
through your crate
Um,
combo probably.
yeah.
Or were you at the full?
That
What was your first
it was a
amp?
crate. What was that?
Was that your first amp? Was a crate?
I think I had some small. No, that was because my friend gave me that Harmony, and I didn't have the amp for it, and then the Samick, I didn't have the amp either. But I found a crate combo amp in the fucking garbage.
That's where you could probably still find some crate amps.
Yeah. So I found that. I found it in the garbage. It didn't work, and my mom's ex-boyfriend fixed it. It was just like something had come unplugged,
Right.
like
Yeah.
inside. But yeah, I had that, and then my first real amp, like I said, was that PV Double XL. Like as far as like a real like,
Yeah.
because I moved from that shitty combo to that. But yeah, so a lot of CKY riffs. Obviously Metallica was big because once I started like focusing on guitar, I was watching guitar players more than drummers. And what's funny is in my head, like I was playing guitar like as a hobby, and in my head I was like, I'm a drummer. I'm going like I want to be like a studio drummer someday or do this.
I was the
And
exact same way. I played on the drum line through middle and most of high school too.
yeah. And what's funny, the thing that was like the catalyst for change for me was in high school. I want to say freshman year. Like I had some friends over to jam because like my mom's house, we had the basement where we always had, even before I was in a band, we'd do band practice and have just friends over. And my friend Rob came over. Our current tour manager Ollie, he was over because him and I have been best friends forever. And we're jamming. I'm playing drums, and it's fine, but he's like not playing like the stuff I had in my head. Like, oh, try, and I'm like grabbing his guitar, like try something like this. And afterwards, like I overheard him talking shit about me, but he was like, he's like, I don't know why he's so focused on drums. He's a way better guitar player. Like it doesn't make any fucking sense. And I'm just like, am I? And just started focusing on that.
Yep.
And here we are doing the Don't You Fret podcast. Talking about guitar
Dude, you've made it.
20 years later.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long.
I mean,
oh shit, I'm old.
It's funny how that works too, though, right? Like, I think I started playing guitar because I knew more drummers than guitar players. So it was like,
right.
I was just filling a void. And then, like, once again, here we are. You know what I mean? It's like we're both professional metal guitar players, doing what we can.
Right. What's funny, my very first band, some friends were in a band called they were kind of just, my first band was a punk band, and my friends were in a punk band. At first they were CNI, codename Indestructible, and then they were the Descents.
Hell yeah.
And half the band quit, like the drummer and guitar player, and I was like, okay, well, like I'll go play drums. And we had like one band practice with just a bass player and me playing drums and like our friend that was a singer, and it didn't really go very well. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. But then the two guys that had quit, they went to join, like they started a new band like at the same time, and they're like, hey, do you want to play bass? And I was like, sure, I play guitar, I can play bass. So
Right.
I played bass in our punk band, and then we kind of turned into like a metalcore band, and I was still playing bass, and our guitar player at the time, who was our guitar player and singer, he was getting on everyone's nerves. And the final straw was we played a show, and he didn't load his gear out to our drummer's truck. His gear being literally a 30-watt crate combo amp. He didn't take that outside, so we fired him. Which now, the amount of times I've been like, oh, we're loading, and just Homer Simpson into the bushes, just backed away.
Yeah.
We fired him for that, and we're in high school, but then I moved to guitar, and it was like, let's go.
Well, then, yes, but then, like, you think, like, if that's the reason he gets fired, it's probably been piling up at that point. It's just
it had been, but
yeah.
that was the final straw. We're like, because his girlfriend was at the show, and he was like hanging out with her, and like,
And
I just remember
you're just seething.
we're taking stuff outside,
like,
and his little
fuck that guy.
This little amp that is just a lunchbox size thing is sitting on the stage, and I'm just like, this son of a bitch.
That's also when
I
you just
picked it up.
You just leave it, and then like the next day he's like, guys, where's my amp? I'm like,
no. The funniest thing is we had him come over to our drummer's house after the show. He showed up. We were in our drummer's garage we were all sitting in chairs, and we had a separate chair like moved over somewhere else with his amp next to it and like his guitar. And we're like, we need to talk.
Damn, you guys survived him. You voted him off the island.
Yes, we did.
Damn,
it's so fucking funny.
That is really funny. It's so funny to think back to those days too, because like the amount of knowledge that you just lack about everything in those days.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. Like even talking about the guy who threw away a crate amp because something was unplugged. You know what I mean. Like we've all been in that situation.
But it's everything. Like we went the first time we did like a real recording. There was a studio in Columbus, Ohio. It was called John Schwab Recordings, and it was like that's where everybody went, like for like the good recordings back then, because it's the mid 2000s. For a metalcore band, you can get away with having like a bullshit recording.
Yeah.
But in our heads, we're like, we're gonna go here, and once we do that, we're gonna get signed. We're gonna get signed to like Metal Blade Records. We showed up to the studio ready to record a 7-song EP. And we bought a 10-hour block of time and said, yeah, this is enough time to record 7 whole songs. And the guy, like, his name's Joe Veers. He now runs a place called Sonic Lounge. He knows what he's doing. He's good. Looking back, I'm remembering the face he made where he's like, okay, well, let's do it.
Let's do this.
So we recorded the whole thing live. There's like drum rolls of like, our first drummer, like he admittedly was not a very good drummer, and there's like a drum roll intro to the song where there's like every tom there's like stick clicks and stuff. It just left it. dude is recording it. He's just like thumbs up, like, yeah, that'll work.
You're killing it. We got 3 more hours. Let's keep going.
Yeah, you better fucking finish.
I mean, even then, no skin off his hide. Props to that dude.
But it's all just a learning experience,
Yeah.
and I learned that was a stupid thing to do.
Even still, man, it's so crazy how like just your band growing and like doing bigger things. There's so many learning curves always. We're all grown men trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, and it's when you're younger too. When you have that confidence, you're like, this is gonna be it for us. We're taking off after this step. No, incorrect, false.
Yeah, you're gonna be living at your parents' house till you're 25, young man. Don't you worry about it. Man,
living the dream.
Hey, it's kind of still is, you know.
Yeah, my roommate's mom.
That's mom, my roommate.
Yeah, I pay her rent.
So it doesn't count. Man, I've been there. It's crazy. Let's talk about stuff besides music. We're on Twitch here. It's a video game platform. I saw you're streaming on Twitch now. How long have you been doing that?
a few months. We moved up to Humboldt in we moved in July. We moved right before July 4th. We just like had to get out of the situation we're in, and we spent about a month up here at her parents trying to find a place. We moved in here, the place we're in now, on August 2nd.
Okay.
And I only know that because I was like trying to plan out when we could get furniture. We moved in, and since then, like I set up and I started streaming. And because I did it back in 2017, it just never really caught on. But I kept telling Vincent, like, hey, you should stream because you have a built-in audience of people who give a shit about what you have to say and will jump over.
He's great at it too,
and
man.
He did.
He's really taken it and ran with it. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, and a lot of the people that are in chat right now are same from that community. Which his community is I have the Strong Brethren. He's got the Sour Patch Kids because those are his channel points.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
And it's been good. Like it's been a learning experience. It's been a great way to connect with fans and make friends, because it's hard when you're on on tour and you're covered in sweat and you have like, you don't get to make a real connection when somebody just wants to like take a picture or say like, hey, good set. And it's like because you have so much shit you have to do, like loading and like, oh, your parents came to the show or somebody came to the show. So you're like,
I don't want this to be taken wrong, but like, I love meeting fans at the end of the day at the merch table, but there's not a worst time to meet somebody. Like, I feel like meeting people at the merch table has so much pressure around it, and there's so much things going on.
Yeah, and if there's still music going and you're like, what?
Yeah, hey. it's you almost get the worst experience meeting a band member that way. So like, I've even heard plenty of people call amazing people shitty and assholes because they've met them in that situation.
That too, and I'm just like, were they really, or was it just an inopportune?
Well, it's just like it's that merch table meet is always going to be an inopportune time. It's never once going to be convenient. Especially there's like a line of people, you feel pressured to get through all of them, and then sometimes people are talking to you at one time. It's terrible.
Yeah, and then you have people who don't get the concept of there being a line, and they're they just want to monopolize all the time, and you don't want to be rude by being like, hey, there's more people waiting.
Yeah, you like literally have to be like, all right, next one, cut it. Yeah, it's the worst.
But the cool thing about the community, the people you meet on Twitch and become like actual real life friends with, when you're like, oh yeah, we're gonna be playing in Mesa, Arizona, and it's like, yeah, guys, come, we'll go get lunch.
Yeah,
and we'll hang out.
Yeah,
and it's like you have online interactions with this person. You talk to them all the time, so you know it's not going to be like some weirdo who's like, so what do your insides look like?
They're pink. Yeah, but I completely agree. I mean, this quarantine, as shitty as it was, it left us windows to start stuff like this. And like the whole reason I wanted to do the podcast was to hang out with my friends, like you, Devin. Like, we haven't talked in a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like I'm horrible at like picking up the phone and like texting anyone outside of like the band or like the two people I talk to on a daily basis.
Yeah,
and I think it's just the mental thing of like, I don't talk to somebody for a couple weeks, and then I'm just like, oh, they probably don't want to hear from me.
Yeah. I think I do the same thing.
I don't want to bother them.
Yes. But like, the community, I love all the people I've got.
Yeah, like cycling back to the just meeting after the show, for me, like especially if we're playing a headlining set and we're playing for like an hour and 15 minutes or something like that, we get done playing and I'm like, oh God, like there's like a good 5 minutes where I'm like, I don't even know where the fuck I am.
Yeah.
And you could be somebody I've known for years and walk up and be like, hey, what's up? And I'm just like, yeah, hey. And like, I'm just fully zoned out. And I've had people be like, oh, he's a dickhead. I'm like, no, you met me when I didn't know where I was.
Yeah. I want to spread that message to so many people because so many people get the wrong idea and like, it's so hard. I mean,
it's obviously it's not the same as like, being an athlete. But I liken it to almost do like playing professional sports or something where you see somebody being interviewed after a football game, and they're like, "Oh yeah, team. We just gave like 100. Just gave 100%. Just it's all the team." And it's like they seem like they're stupid all the time. And it's like, no, they're coming down off of an extreme amount of adrenaline,
Yeah.
and they're just like, these are words coming out of my mouth, and
We went down there and we scored more points than them, and yeah, super true.
yeah,
Um,
it's similar. Like, obviously we're not professional athletes, but
right.
it's the same mindset of you're exhausting a lot of energy and a lot of adrenaline, and then your body is like quickly like, all right, we're done with this. All right, let's pull
rest
everything back in. You're like,
yeah.
what?
So that being said, you on Twitch, are you a big gamer, or was that something?
I've been primarily doing gaming on Twitch. I want to branch out into guitar, but I've been having issues with getting everything to work the way I would like it to, being that Max and streaming don't really get along that great.
Yeah.
So trying to get audio from Logic over to OBS is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because I have like a Scarlett 2i2 interface that I've got my mic going into, and I also I'll run my Kemper through it. 2 different channels, but OBS does not recognize those as 2 separate channels. It just puts them into one thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't just do it very easily that way.
Yeah. I had to upgrade my audio interface for that specific reason, pretty much. Yeah.
I found one program that is supposed to work for it, but it's like they want like $120 for it. I'm like, I'm not paying you $120 for a feature to get audio from one place to another.
Right. Have you heard of a lot of people talk about? Well, I can't even remember the name. It's like some freemium software.
I've downloaded so much crap that has just like not worked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a PC guy through and through, and I think it.
Yeah. I'm eventually moving over to PC. Like, I'll keep my Mac for recording stuff.
Right. Well, that's what gets difficult, right? It's like when I moved from Mac to PC, my biggest learning curve was dropping Logic. It's such a good program. I wish companies would just. I wish Mac and Apple would just be smart enough to make the money from PC users by making like a Windows compatible Logic. You know what I mean? But it's just.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Windows compatible iTunes.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore, I guess. Apple Music, because they got rid of iTunes, kind of.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but so I eventually want to start doing because I've been talking to Matt Heafy a lot, who's plays guitar and sings for Trivium.
The legend, the face of Twitch itself.
Yeah, he's been nothing but helpful with, because obviously like Vincent gives me a lot of advice and everything, but he mainly does gaming.
Yeah.
Matt does both. And he's like, the way I do it, I start my every stream with guitar, because I have people that are coming specifically for that want to hear your songs and talk gear. And then a couple hours in, I will transition to gaming. I want to adopt that method because it seems to work really well for him. It's just getting that to work.
Yeah, I completely agree. I could do better about it. Like when I do games, I'm typically only playing League of Legends ever.
Yeah, I've been trying to play. I found I have more fun. The chat has more fun when I'm playing a game that I've never played before.
Okay. Yeah. Just variety type
like
stuff.
We started a couple weeks ago. We started doing Wednesday, where we'll do Mario Kart on Wednesdays, and it's just my Switch code is in the chat, and add me, and we just do a bunch of racing.
That's sick.
Pretty fun. But then, so the game I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima on PS4.
So good.
But yeah, it was my first time playing it. Like because I played a couple games where I'm like, I'm really good at this game. I've played this a lot over the years, and I don't think it's as fun when you're watching somebody who's like knows exactly what to do.
Right.
Like when you're watching somebody and you're kind of experiencing the game the first time forever.
Well, and then there's like a parallel, right? You want to watch someone who's incredible, or you want to watch someone who's terrible. It's like,
yeah,
there's no in between, really.
Yeah, and you want to watch somebody who's just like you're able to be like, I know what to do. Like I can help this person out because they're stuck here, and It's like I really appreciate that, and it also gets me. I get to play these games that I'm like I otherwise wouldn't have time. Like I've played more games in the past few months than I have in years. Like I used to run a game store for like 3 years. I managed a small mom and pop game store, and I loved it, but it was just like most of my time was dealing with customers. And then I get home and I'm like, I'd try to play a game. I'd get like a half hour in tops and be like, I just don't feel like doing this right now.
Yeah.
And there was a period where I was feeling like shit, am I old now? I'm like, do I not like video games anymore?
Right.
And turns out false.
Yeah, I'm never gonna lose that part of me for sure.
Yeah.
Are there games that you just keep finding yourself going back to, or are you just like riding the high of hanging out with the people you're doing stuff with Twitch and?
Yeah, pretty much. We've been doing a lot of different. Okay, so we'll do a full playthrough. Like I'm doing the playthrough of Ghost of Tsushima, and when we get done with that, I'm not sure what I'm going to play next, but I have some ideas. Before that, I did Ocarina of Time, that Zelda.
Dude,
That's a game I
I like the Switches. They just implemented that, like all the old the classic games you can play through having the online subscription or whatever. That's super sick.
Yeah, because for a while I was just using an emulator and streaming like retro games off my computer because I couldn't get my capture card to work.
Yeah.
Which I found out I had to turn off there were functions that blocked it on PS4 that you have to turn off so it'll
Yes. Yep.
send it through.
Been there too. Yeah.
The digital copyright protection stuff or whatever. Yeah. Also, I did Ocarina of Time on 64. Played through that. I beat that game a bunch when I was younger, but I haven't played it in a very long time. So I was like, yeah, let's go through. It'll be nostalgia for everybody.
Did you remember parts?
And I remembered a good chunk of it, but there was a lot of it where it was not a terribly difficult game, just fun. We spent a lot of time fishing.
Cool.
After that, I was like, all right, well, I got Majora's Mask when it came out, but I never beat it. And I remember not liking it very much, so I started streaming that, and I want to say I got like halfway through. I got to like the third dungeon and just rage quit, gave up on it. I was like, we're not going back to this. We did get to a point where if we get like told everyone if we do a 1000% level 5 hype train, which is just absurd.
Right.
It's like if we do that, I will go back to Majora's Mask. But so no, not even halfway through. Yeah, not far. So I was in the water temple of Majora's Mask.
Dude, I think I vaguely remember that stuff too.
It's got that stupid like 3-day cycle, and if it gets near the end, the moon crashes, so you have to like go back and start over.
Yep.
So I got to the boss. The boss fight was very difficult, and I was on like the third day, and I had time slowed down, but it was still like, I think I died like 3 times in a row on that, and I was running out of time. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna zap back to the first day and come back so I have more time.
Yep.
I did that. It let me keep all the items like the boss key and everything, but the puzzles all reset. So I showed up and I'm like, dude, I have to go and like
it's the first
unlock all this stuff to get to the boss room.
It's the first Dark Souls, bro. Have you gone through that experience yet?
I've attempted Dark Souls so many times and I cannot make it past like the first real boss.
Yeah.
I go for like the undead Berg or whatever, and there's like the dragon boss thing on the bridge.
Yep.
Can't beat it.
I wish I saved all because I'm like a massive Souls head. I love all those games, dude. I wish I saved those experiences for Twitch because they're perfect.
I like the idea of them, but I also, it would probably be good to play those on Twitch just to, like, because you have a reason. Like, all right, well, I have nothing but time to sit here and get better at this.
Right, yeah.
But I just,
and then,
as just a game to play on my own, I'm like, I don't want to, everyone's like, no, you just have to get good. And I'm like, I don't want to have to spend a bunch of time playing a game just to be able to play it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, like, being on Twitch, like, raging is fun. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's like nice to be able to laugh at yourself being mad at a video game with people.
And you're just like, oh, great, good.
Yeah, I need to go through Hollow Knight. Everyone tells me to play that game, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I have it on Switch, but I've not played it.
okay,
I played it for a minute, but I was like, I didn't know what I was doing, and I was like, this seems like a really big game that I buy games a lot when I'm on tour, like on Switch. Like something will come out, and I'll either get it at a GameStop somewhere or I'll download it, and I'll play it for like, cool, this will be fun to play on tour. I'll play for 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, I have to go do something, and then I never play it again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's cool. I love the Switch on tour because it's portable, which, it's amazing.
Yeah, I just got I was told to get a game called Hades. I bought that. I
Yeah,
might save that for
people. Yeah, I might do the same thing. People
Save
want me
that
to
for
play
Twitch.
Hades. Yeah.
I started playing my fiance and I we both got Stardew Valley because I've heard nothing but amazing things about that game for years, and we both liked Animal Crossing, but are kind of at the point where it's like now we're just waiting around for like events in the game to happen, and then you do those for the day, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, all right. Cuphead's difficult. Somebody said they wish more people played Cuphead.
Cuphead is insanely difficult. I actually just went on a big Super Smash Brothers kick, like Ultimate.
Yeah.
And they've been implementing like Cuphead graphics, and like there's a Cuphead skin for like the Mii Gunner or whatever. It's so sick.
Oh shit.
It's so sick. Yeah.
I'm so bad at Smash and like any fighting games.
I'm pretty bad. Like I'll never like I can typically always beat like my friends who come over and play. Like that's like, but I'm pretty good at doing that at any video game. Like I'm that level of gamer. But I'll definitely never like you go online for 10 seconds in Smash Brothers and I get just mopped.
Deceased. I'm pretty good at like Mario Kart is like my online game that I'm pretty good at. Except there was one guy who came in like the first week we were doing Mario Kart stuff on Twitch, and he's like knows every secret in the game and the way to like abuse all the boosting and do like boostless shortcuts and all this stuff, and I'm like, there was no catching up to him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that man is God.
There's always someone better. It's just like playing guitar. You scroll on Instagram for 5 minutes, you're like, well, god damn it, I suck.
Yeah, so that's why I never really give a shit about like.
Yeah.
I'm always like, even no matter how good I might be able to get, I'm never gonna be like, I'm fucking sick at guitar, dude. Because there's gonna be someone like, oh yeah, well, can you do this? And you're like, no.
Not only that, but it's like an 8-year-old Japanese girl. You know what I mean?
You're like, yes, I have a child prodigy, and I'm gonna do this until I'm 15, and I'm gonna hate playing guitar.
Yep.
And you'll never hear from me again.
So funny. Man, that's sick. Have you ever played? Are you more of a console gamer over a PC gamer?
Yeah, because I don't own a PC.
Facts. Yep. True.
That's mainly the big part of it, because gaming on Mac just doesn't really exist.
Well, but even then,
it does, but it's laughable.
Most people who PC game probably grew up on it at a certain level.
And because I was PC like growing up,
okay,
and I had a lot of my age here. My first computer was like a Windows 3.1 machine. I had a lot of like DOS games.
Yep.
And then but I always had Nintendo and Super NES and Genesis and all that stuff growing up. So I was primarily console gamer, and at this point there's so much stuff that comes out on PC that is also console. It's like PC seems like it's the best option.
Yeah, I think if you sink a good amount of money in it, it's also the best experience.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't have to sink money into a monthly or yearly online membership just to play online.
Yeah, dude.
The Steam sales are great,
but then I don't have any consoles anymore besides a Switch, and then like I find myself craving like a couple of console exclusives every once in a while. Like,
yeah,
PlayStation has Bloodborne, which out of the Soul series is like the PlayStation exclusive. It's my favorite game out of the entire series.
Yeah,
and I can't play it now, and it's like, come on.
That sucks. Yeah, I got my PS4. I was an Xbox guy for years. Like in the last generation, well, I guess now 2 generations ago, since we're now on the new systems that nobody has because you can't find them.
They don't exist. I'm pretty sure they just advertise that
they're fake.
Yeah.
there's no games for PS5 yet, anyways, that I really cared that much about playing. Not enough to sell a console to me, especially for $1,200.
Yeah.
But 360 was like that won that generation. It had way more exclusives. The controller was great. The Xbox Live experience was better than PlayStation Live, and then that flipped hard for Xbox One and 360 and PS4.
Yeah.
I bought an Xbox One like not on launch day, but like shortly after. I was like, hell yeah, this is awesome. Got forced into buying the stupid Kinect thing.
Yep. Yeah.
All that, and it was kind of annoying. And I was like seeing like all the better games were like coming out on PlayStation. I was like, what the hell? And I finally got one, and I was like, my Xbox started just collecting dust. Like I didn't touch it anymore.
The 360 ruined my Xbox experience. After I
Really?
had like 3 red rings, I think I was like,
Oh shit! Yeah, I
PlayStation.
got lucked out.
And then a lot of games, the games I was playing like primarily on console at the time was Destiny and Diablo 3. And
Yeah.
then PlayStation 4 came out and still had those 2 games. I was like, here we go. You know what I mean? Like I can not lose anything, but have a better gaming experience. So I was like, yeah,
Right.
it's done.
The only thing I'll say, like, the PS4 controller is fine. I have no issues with it, but I do like the feel of the Xbox One controller a little bit more, just with the offset sticks as opposed to like just being right next to each other like that.
Right.
But it's not a huge thing.
Yeah. Man, let's see if I got any other subjects to touch on. This has been awesome, Devin. It's been good chatting with you.
It's been a lot of fun, a nice organic chat.
Organic. That's what I try to keep it. I try to keep tabs of like I typically have like a backbone I like to ride.
Yeah.
And if we organically come across those backbones, I'm just like, yeah, it's fine. I hope this year's been okay for you. I know it's been a crazy one.
Yeah, it's been for the most part good. Got to grow in other ways. I think for a lot of the guys in the in our industry, like it's just given us a chance to be home longer than we have in years.
Yeah.
Which is good and also has there's difficulties with it, but it's like you said earlier, everyone is going through it, so it's not just you're missing out while everyone else is out having fun. You're just like, it is what it is, and we get through it. It sucks. Like I miss playing shows and interacting with my friends. I haven't seen anyone in my band since fucking March 14th.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's like that sucks, but it's when it all comes back, it'll be better than ever because I think a lot of people too are missing shows. So when they can safely happen again, I don't think you're going to be playing shows that are like, oh wow, this nobody really paid. It's like no, people are going to go to like, oh shit, there's shows.
Yeah.
I think for a good chunk of time, they're all going to be packed, and then people are going to be like, oh, we don't want to take this stuff for granted. At least that's my hope. Because
Yeah.
I think people get spoiled and they're like, I don't feel like going to that. Whereas you see like those like the big festivals they have in Europe and stuff where it's like there's metal being played, yeah, and there's like a huge crowd.
I actually never thought of it that way, and that's incredible. It's an incredible way of thinking because like
you're cutting out audio wise.
Oh, I am? Really? Weird.
Talk real quick.
I was saying that
you're back.
Hello. I was saying that that's an incredible way to think because I have not thought of that actually. America especially has seemingly always had like this privileged type of we'll miss this show, so we'll just go to the one that's 2 months from now because like people tour America so much. So that's a really good way to think about it.
Yeah, and we get for the most part like when it comes to like heavier music on like a festival platform, all those big festivals are owned by like the same people. Your Sonic Temple, Aftershock, all that stuff, and it's cool because it's a big music festival over a weekend, which we need more of that stuff in America. But it's mostly like you get a lot of the heavier radio rock. A couple cool bands might get peppered in, but that's not like the main push. It's like we don't ever get asked to play that stuff, and it's like what we we chart on Billboard and we
Right.
sell lots of tickets, but
Yeah.
we don't fit this. Like, whereas you can go play Heavy Montreal, and you're like, yeah, we're gonna play, and Meshuggah's gonna play, and
So sick.
you
I
know,
played Heavy Montreal
Gojira's gonna
once.
play.
First
Huh?
off, shout out to Heavy Montreal's catering.
Best catering in the universe. Insane.
Amazing, dude.
And you can get as much as you fucking want.
Yeah. Dude. Crazy. We played the Rob Zombie Day like 2 years ago, I think. Crazy.
Yeah. God, they have, because it's just, for anyone that doesn't know, Heavy Montreal is a big music festival. Heavy music in Montreal, in Quebec, in Canada. Yeah. But the catering, they have this whole section, because it's a huge facility, like it's a huge like compound basically, and where they do catering, most times when you play festivals, it's like the catering sucks. It's like, yeah, here's a hamburger. Heavy Montreal, they treat everyone like they're royalty, and you have like these people that came in specifically to make like, oh, you want a little custom hand tossed pizza with whatever toppings you want. Oh, you want prosciutto on your pizza? Sure.
They had like an entire cafeteria hall, like catered by chefs for all these different dietary restrictions, and they had a row of food trucks outside.
Yeah.
And then I know,
and it's all included. You're not, like,
you don't
playing,
pay for anything.
You just get whatever you want.
And then, like, that alone would have me try to play Heavy Montreal every year.
Yeah.
And then I know plenty of poor souls who didn't know about the upstairs section that had coffee and desserts stacked up like a mountain. Insane.
There's an upstairs section.
Yep.
Son of a bitch.
Dude, so many people were like, where did you get that cheesecake and that raspberry souffle? And I'm like, oh, it's upstairs next to because me being a coffee head, I had to figure out where the coffee was.
Yeah, dude, one of the most like mind-blowing experiences of my life happened at Heavy Montreal, where there's certain points as a musician where like there are certain things that happen where you're just like, it kind of, a lot of things come into perspective and you're like, what the fuck? Like so Phil and Selmo and the Illegals are playing. And what was it? No, it wasn't. I watched on stage for that, but also Meshuggah starts playing. Ooh. I'm standing on stage watching Meshuggah. Standing also on stage is like everybody from Korn is up there. Everybody from Godsmack. First thing I think is like, wow, everyone in Godsmack is like 5 foot tall. What the hell? But like all these people where I'm like, not particularly bands I care much about anymore musically, but I'm like, me in 6th grade would have shit in my pants.
Yes, dude.
And I'm just like, we're all just watching Meshuggah. And I'm like, the one bummer about Heavy Montreal is they have a decibel limit because of people along the river that have complained about the noise. So we're watching Meshuggah and it was like not a very high decibel limit. So couldn't hear them on stage because they're in ears and everything.
Yeah. Go
out into the crowd and I'm having a conversation like at this volume while Meshuggah is playing with somebody else and the crowd is like, turn it up. And I'm like, first time getting to see them, I watched like 2 songs. I was like, I cannot watch Meshuggah like this. And so I just left.
Dang.
I'm like, this is one of my favorite bands and this is supposed to be an experience. So I am not going to like watch them be castrated by the sound police for this. Meanwhile, when we played that day, our sound guy Chris said fuck that and cranked it. And he's our logic, because we told him like, yeah, don't listen to them. I'm like, what are they going to do? They're French Canadians. Are they going to tell us to get out? Sure, okay. No offense, Jimmy. I know you're from there. But I like to, anytime I'm in any other country, no matter where it is, I like just pulling the line, hey, we saved your ass back in WW2.
God.
Show us some respect.
You owe us, bro.
Yeah. Granted, this is in the before times when we weren't in a nightmare hellscape.
Yes.
Armageddon. Living in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell my Chris story real quick before we come to an end, because I forgot I was going to tell that story.
Let's hear it.
I only met Chris. We played like a one-off show. It was like us and Within the Ruins had a...
Okay, so he was within the ruins.
Yeah. So we both had off days in the same city, and we decided to book a show there. And Chris was like basically tour managing for them, doing sound. So it was like basically like Chris's show. Like he pretty much did the whole thing. Like he booked
Yeah,
it, he did the sound.
had us and Within the Ruins used to have the same manager, Scott Lee. And
Yes.
Scott was like, Chris, tour manage this. And he was like, I don't really want to. And they're like, do it. And he's like, okay.
Yeah, dude. Scott Lee rules too, by the way.
Love him.
But it ended up being like the skate park in Mississippi. And dude, even at the time, like Within the Ruins and Era were not big really, but like people knew who we were. And dude, I swear it was just the bands and like 2 people were playing this show or like attending this show. Yeah. And like we're good friends. We all wanted to just hang out with each other anyway because it was an off day. So we're all like working out in the parking lot and just like hanging out. And we ended up just the only other people there were just kicking it with, you know, it was like a big party. And the promoter is like obviously having trouble paying the guarantees because no one's there. And Chris, I just met Chris this day and he goes, all right, cool. Well, I'm going to go start dismantling your PA and we'll just leave with your PA and I'll just sell it for the money that you owe us. So that was sick. The biggest dick move, like big dick move I've ever seen still probably to this day.
It was Chris's old school. And that's the kind of shit that we, the shit that we always used to have to deal with, play a show and like we'd play shows where there were people there and the guy's like, oh, I just don't have money to pay you guys. And we're like, what do you mean? Where are all these people from? And I'm like, you better go get money, figure it out. You got to pay us somehow. And he's like, oh dude, I just don't, like, I don't have money. Like, I'm like, ask your parents, like if you saw our house. And I'm like, shut up. See that van over there? That's our house. We live in that thing.
Dude. So
and I'm like, I don't care if you have to go home and get your Xbox and bring it to us. We'll call it even.
Literally, I'll never forget that day. Chris said that, and the guy literally started panicking, got in his car, and drove off. An hour later, came back with the money, and we just played the show and hung out. And
it's funny because I know exactly the panic, like, oh god, like.
And ever since then, every time I see Chris, I'm like, dude, legend.
Because Chris is, and he did it very calmly. I guarantee. Like,
like no emotion at all. Big beards covering most of his face.
He's like, yeah, okay, no problem. We'll just start dismantling your PA and what?
Yes, man, so sick. Well, as we come to an end here, I like a section where everyone asks questions that they would like to ask you. While questions pile up, I like to ask at the end, what's the scariest thing to you about technology?
Scariest thing to me about technology is I would say the ease of access to personal information around the country as we let more things become convenience in our life. There are certain things where, like, I don't need Alexa, I don't need any of that stuff because I don't want to have more things that have access to stuff that is accessible to third parties.
Yeah.
I get advertised to enough. And then I also don't want my personal information being stolen by bad actors of some sort. Half the time you're like, oh yeah, you're gonna steal my identity. You can't make my credit any worse. Like that, that kind of shit. Do me the favor.
That's low on my fear list purely because I'm like, they got everything already. It's fine.
I think.
Or someone like walks into my house and they're like, "Hey Alexa, what's this guy's social security number?"
With technology, especially with like social media and stuff, just as we've seen the spread of like misinformation, how easily it can go, and how that can get radicalized and all that. That's pretty scary. That has to get squashed.
I think we're waking up to it a little bit more. It's funny. They're talking about the reason everyone got found out at the Capitol Hill riot or whatever.
They're all just posting themselves online.
No, it actually was just like, this is the sheer technology around it. Those government buildings are secure, right? Or I mean, they are. I shouldn't put them in air quotes. They're so secure that when those people entered the building and they were foreign IP addresses on their phones and stuff, it just sucked all their information. Yep.
Yeah.
And then everyone was just like, oh, it's some guy in like a computer lab is just like, oh yeah, this is this guy's address. Yeah, the guy that took the picture.
Yeah, and then also you look at that IP and then you're like, oh, here's the stuff they posted where it's the
dude,
you know,
crazy.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But that and but it's just the point now where if I see something online, I'm like, I don't believe anything I've read anymore. Like that
Yeah.
somebody else, third party information where somebody's sharing something, I'm like, yeah, okay. Until I read it myself from what I would consider a reputable source.
Yeah.
But that goes with everything. Like somebody playing like a sick solo, I'm like, probably fake.
So you have to be proven right. You're a
Yeah.
pessimist about things you
I'm
see.
just like, I'm like, oh yeah, cool MIDI guitar there, Lucas Man.
Dude, I can't even get into that like genre of music. Like
Yeah,
that.
it's fine if you like. It obviously it takes skill to be able to write a MIDI thing and get whatever, but it's the whole I hate when people send me that or like Buried Alive and they're like, who would have this insane playing, and I'm like, it's fake.
It's lit.
He's
It's
passing it off as real.
Well,
I don't care that it's fake.
even if it is real, they're like quantizing it to such a degree to where like they're hurting themselves. At least to guitar players, like I can't listen to that type of production because it's so fake sounding. Like even it's just crazy. You know that Buried Alive dude is a Reflections old guitar player,
right?
Who we've toured with. That dude shreds. But
not to that degree.
Every time he posts that video, I can't watch it because it's like, like as a guitar player, I want to hear you bend a string with some soul or something. You know what I mean? It's just like it's too.
Yeah, which that is a old man YouTube comment. Like it's technically proficient, but there's no like soul in it.
Right. Well, which as I get older, I'm turning into that guy.
Steve Vai videos in 2006, and there's somebody who's like, he's good, but he's got no soul, and I'm like, shut up, dork.
That's me. I'm that dork.
I've turned into that old man.
Yeah.
Really, I just don't care anymore. I'm just like, whatever. Guitar is stupid. We're all idiots for playing it.
Facts too. Yeah, it's true.
I've wasted my life.
All right, let's see. Hey, Devin, do you like Mayer?
John Mayer?
Just Mayer. Or Mayo. Sorry. The question
Mayo?
mark looks like an R.
Oh, yeah, I like it. I used to not like it at all. I used to be like borderline afraid of it.
Oh, I love Mayo. I've always been on the Mayo train.
When I was a kid, I remember somebody like left a fork out, or not a fork, a knife that had like mayo on it, and they had left it sitting for so long that it started to like get like blue mold
Yellow,
on it, and it grossed me out, and I was like, mayo is disgusting, and but now I'm like, oh wow, mayo is great. It enhances the flavor of whatever you're eating. Like you put mayo on a burger, it makes it taste better. I am anti-ketchup.
Dude,
if you put ketchup on my food, I will scream at you.
Same. It's just sugar. That's all it is.
Just red sugar paste. It makes everything taste like ketchup. It doesn't enhance any flavors.
So because we agree on that, have you ever had fancy ketchup from Whataburger?
Which ketchup from Whataburger?
It's like fancy, but there's also spicy ketchup too.
The spicy ketchup's fine.
You should try the fancy ketchup. It's not quite. I hate ketchup.
It's not Heinz.
Yeah.
It's not Heinz bullshit.
And then you go to like another country where their ketchup is like actually just tomato paste, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I
like it in California. Most people are like, you go somewhere and instead of asking like, oh, you want ketchup? Like, oh, do you want ranch? I'm like, yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah, sure, I do.
Give me that ranch,
dude. I hate ketchup too. It's so funny you say that. And then like you go to Germany, and my favorite thing is mayonnaise and mustard for your fries. Oh my God.
Incredible.
So good.
Mustard all day.
Especially that like stone ground, like spicy mayo. Dude, I'm drooling. This is not a good day to be doing a juice fast. I want to say it was either Chris from Texas in July or the Ghost Inside, both either work, or Aaron from Intervals that said guitarists and drummers are each other's muses. Would you agree?
No. I want to kill Kevin Boutot all the time.
That's fair.
No, not anymore. Kevin's a lot better. There used to be things he's worked on it. I've worked on it. We both have attitudes sometimes. So you'll have something happen. There was one time we were in Australia. It was the last day of our Australian tour. We're playing in Perth, which is just a psychotic place on its own. It's the most inaccessible major city in the world. If you didn't know that,
for sure,
you have to fly to get there.
Yeah,
you can't just drive across the outback. Too far. So we're playing the show. Sound check went fine. At some point in the show, my Axe effects because I was using Axe Effects at the time, is just like, fuck you. And like my input was dying, and it was like, I was like getting very low. Like,
I've
instead of
seen
like,
that happen with an X Effects before, actually.
for no reason, because
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
it would happen, sometimes it wouldn't. Worked fine at sound check, worked fine at line check, and then midway through the set, it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna fuck your whole setup. So I like was frantically trying to switch to the rear input, and it was just a mess. And Kevin's like getting upset that this is happening, even though I'm like, this didn't happen
I didn't make
before we
this.
started playing.
I didn't create this
And
on purpose.
then also, being that it's Australia, we brought one 8-string guitar, one 7-string guitar each, no backups because we couldn't take them.
Yeah.
We switched to our 8-string songs after I fixed that by switching to the rear input. And like the 3rd string down just breaks. And I'm like, oh no. Well, I need that string. Usually like the highest string would break, and I'm like, whatever, I'm just playing fucking low notes anyways.
Yeah.
But that string breaks, and I'm like, I can't just go and change strings right now, and my strings are somewhere else.
Yep.
So I take that string off and tune the rest of the guitar like it should be with. So like we're tuned C, F, or we're tuned F, C, F, whatever else. So I just the second F string broke or whatever, and I tuned the other strings that were there as if they were the following strings.
Oh man,
So
that's
there's just
really weird. You just have a
It was
big
weird,
ass
but it was
gap
like-
between your 2nd and 3rd
Right.
string. Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah. So I'm just frantically doing that, and like in between songs, like I'm like panicking trying to get this done, and I'm facing my Axe Effects while I'm like tuning and all this stuff, and I'm like, good. And Kevin's like, you good? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you better be. And I'm just like, we got done, and I had to walk away because I'm like, I'm gonna beat his ass.
Yeah.
But
because in those moments, like
worked.
You're so mad at yourself too already. That,
Yeah,
like,
and I'm like,
I
didn't do this intentionally.
Yeah.
God damn it!
Yo, did you check out the sick trick I did, bro? It was so
This
fun.
will be funny, and I'm just clipping my strings off.
Yeah.
Although one time, on the After the Burial tour, when we played in Salt Lake City, at the end of the set, I did rip all the strings off my guitar, as a purely as a feat of strength, and just like to let everyone know, like, don't ever try.
Well, that also don't ever try.
Don't fuck with me. I ripped all these strings off at once and then threw the guitar on the ground.
That's a good.
I was having a bad day.
It's a good transition because for Devin: why are you so handsome? Bonus point: how are you so strong?
I look like a caveman. I think it's genetic, the caveman handsomeness, and as far as strength, it's just always been there. You give me anything, I'll pick it up and put it over my head.
There you go.
Anything at all.
Anything?
Sure. Why not?
Right.
I'll try.
I'll mail you some stuff to lift over your head.
Just No, it's like the if you ever watch Seinfeld, there's a part where they're trying to talk George up to for like a blind date, and like, oh, he's really strong. He can lift 100 pounds clean over his head.
Oh yeah, dude. Man, I miss
he's short,
that show.
Like he's stocky.
Stocky. It's strength, core strength. Let's see. Devin, your thoughts on Chef Boyardee?
I mean, Chef Boyardee is one of the greatest chefs in all of America. Believe it or not, he is a real person.
Okay.
I don't remember if he immigrated or if his parents immigrated from Italy. His name is Ettore Boyardee. It's not spelled like Chef Boyardee. It was like Boiarde, something like that. And he had an Italian restaurant in Cleveland where he started to jar his sauce. This is all true.
I know. I was not expecting any of this information. This is amazing.
But also his nickname in our chat is Jeff Boyardee.
Oh, okay. All right. That's pretty hilarious.
He wanted to make a way for people to have access to his sauce whenever, and then it turned into
an American
fledgling, amazing company.
Is Chef Boyardee mainly an American company?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, it's I don't know who the parent brand is that bought Chef Boyardee, but I also like to say that I like to imagine that at his restaurant back in the day, he served like beefaroni. Like,
right, yeah.
how would you like a nice bowl of a mini ravioli?
And everything on the menu started with Chef Boyardee.
Yeah, Chef Boyardee's mini ravioli, beefaroni.
Oh my god!
Just a nice Italian restaurant. Like, there's wine and breadsticks and beefaroni.
And he's walking around in that getup. Wow.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. Devin, what kind of a nickname would you love to have? This is just becoming a thing too.
Fart Simpson. I don't know.
That was a good answer. What part of Ohio are you from, and when did you leave?
I left in the beginning of 2018. I'm from Columbus, Ohio.
You're from Columbus? Columbus is a sick city.
Yes, it is.
I mean, we work with Corey Haiti, so you know.
Yeah, he's great. He's Columbus and Cleveland.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Rock artist.
We've been working. He's been our manager since the early days.
Like, yeah, he's great.
Like early days.
I was telling Knox, who's one of my good friends who works with Corey sometimes. He promotes a lot down there. Like, he was the promoter rep for the Columbus show on that After the Burial tour, and I was telling him the other day, I'm like, yeah, that was the worst show of that tour.
Yeah.
I almost beat Dan Carl's ass at that show.
Dan Carl has a funny way about him.
Funny way of getting his ass kicked. So
what happened?
If you don't know, Dan Carl was the drummer for After the Burial. It was like a co-build tour. They were headlining. We're playing Scully's, which is a venue I hate in Columbus. I worked there for 3 days and it sucked.
That's the place with like the downstairs. That's like this weird like maze of prison rooms for the green rooms, right?
No, Scully's. It's just right behind the stage. There's steps up and it's like a little hallway upstairs, and that's it.
You're right. Okay.
And there's the big patio out back where everyone set up merch, and the stage was all of like 6 feet deep. Anyways, we're setting up. They sound check, and Knox, who is the promoter and everything, he comes to tell me because we're good friends. He's like, yeah, the drummer of that band says he's leaving his drum set up, and I'm like, the fuck he is
on 6 feet of stage,
because his kit was like to the edge of the stage. I'm like, where the fuck is everyone else supposed to set up? And he was like, my friend Knox was like, yeah, he said if anyone has a problem with it to come talk to him. And I was like, okay. Someone up, and I was like, damn, what's the fucking problem?
Immediately leaves to push him.
I'm like, what's going on with this fucking drum set? And he's like, what? Oh, I'm like, you got to move it. And he's like, oh, but again, I've talked about this before on my, like, my stream just about shows. Knowing where you're at on a tour in terms of like importance and draw and how you affect the tour is a great thing to know, because if something were to happen, because obviously we were a huge draw on that tour. There was
well, it's a
whatever
headlining tour.
Yeah, so if there's times where you're like, you can voice an issue and be like, you need to fix this, and there's times where it's like, you better not piss anybody off because you'll just get kicked off.
Well, and it's also like, just have mutual respect, like,
yeah,
I get having respect for a band, but then if you feel disrespected, it's going to come back on you. You know what I mean? It's just
the most disrespectful thing though was the last day.
God, I don't remember the last
day.
The
pizza. Do you remember this?
I don't.
Okay, so let me tell you this story. We are in Minneapolis. We're at the Skyway Theater. The green rooms are 1,000,000 miles underground.
Yes.
And After the Burial orders pizza for everybody. Dan wanted to order from his favorite pizza place, Pizza Luce, which is great. It's right around the corner. And we're all like, fuck yeah, pizza.
I remember that show.
Josh, the tour manager, says, okay, well, everyone can have pizza after we take the tour photo. And we're like, oh, fine. So we go hike upstairs. Again, it's seriously, it's probably like 6 flights of stairs to get all the way back up. So
it was a task.
Take the big picture. We go back downstairs, and there's all these boxes of pizza. There was like 10 pizzas. Josh was like, all right, there's 10 pizzas that have meat. There's 10 pizzas that are vegetarian, or there's like 5 vegetarian pizzas and then like 2 vegan pizzas. Which the vegan and vegetarian pizzas had a ton of whatever on them. It wasn't just like, oh, here's cheese, which is fine. So I'm like, okay, cool. Meat pizzas, whatever. If you're ordering 10 pizzas that are for everybody, you would think you would order a variety. Or if you're going to get all pizzas the same, you would get something classic like pepperoni.
Yeah.
Instead, they ordered sausage and onion. 10 sausage and onion pizzas.
It's his favorite pizza, dude.
That's Dan Carl's favorite pizza. And that's what Josh told us. It's like, oh, that's his favorite pizza. So we figured out like, oh, he ordered this pizza specifically because he knew most people are going to be like, what the fuck? Like I love onions, but onions on pizza to me is weird because it's just an odd texture.
Oh, you want to hear my favorite pizza?
What is it?
Black olive and onion.
I love black olives.
Dude. So good.
But it's weird for that to be all of the pizzas. For 10
yeah,
pizzas.
No, I agree. I completely agree.
So we figured he ordered them like that specifically so there would be a ton of leftovers that he could take home with him after the show.
God, I mean,
so what the Acacia Strain does,
past him.
What we did with that information was we just kept getting pieces, walking into our green room and just throwing them away. And so afterwards I'm just tweeting like, yeah, thank you so much for the funny prank to just get 10 of this pizza that nobody wanted.
It's funny you say that. I think I remember there being pizzas, but I don't think I remember caring about them at all.
Dude,
I had a miserable time that show because there was a really sick coffee shop in that city that I always like to go to, but it's kind of like a little bit of a walk,
Yeah.
And I had no idea it was going to just start maelstroming outside, like insane.
Oh yeah, it got
it was like
outside that
dumping water. And I'm just like walking back to the venue, and all of a sudden, it literally just feels like someone started continuously pouring buckets of water on me. And I just got destroyed. And I just came back into the venue just like a wet dog, dripping, miserable. Oof. Yeah. I think I spent most of that day in my underwear in the green room because things I had were drying.
Yeah, and it was cold. It was that basement is always fucking cold. It was pretty much a parking garage that's been like walled off.
Yeah, and then that was also the day, of course, that the parking's terrible. So our van was like super far away too. So like,
oh yeah,
we can't get like more clothes if you needed them or anything.
And you're like, how are you gonna have this giant? Another thing. This venue broke 2 rules. There was no parking, and it was upstairs.
Yep.
At least at Skyway, you take an elevator, so it's like kind of fixes it. But you had to go in that alley and like unload quickly, and then move wherever.
Well, yeah, but the elevator's also in the merch room, so you can't really like. I think after we played, we just went down the stairs behind the venue, and
Yeah.
Man.
And it's cold and you're covered in sweat and you're just like, just carrying whatever. Like, I'm gonna scream.
Yeah.
And I remember like after the burial getting upset that like the changeover was taking too long. And it's like, it was mainly because they were blaming us. And this is not me like shitting on you guys at all. But the big in-ear rig, like that thing took forever to like unpin and get off stage.
Yes.
But then they're telling us like you need to cut songs, and we're like, no, we won't. And they're not going to cut songs either. You can wait like an extra 2 minutes.
Yep. Well, which was also, I think that was the venue where we had to go down the stage, but they also had to make a ramp every time we loaded it on or off. Like they would put that metal ramp on the side. So like,
oh yeah,
we weren't about to just like throw our in-ear rack off of a 15-foot drop. It was like, where's the ramp? It was so silly.
Yeah, it's not only expensive, but it's heavy and awkward.
Yeah, it's our biggest, heaviest, most awkward rack we have. Yeah. Oh, wow! All of a sudden, I don't miss tour that bad.
Yeah, just carrying stuff.
Carrying stuff, upstairs, getting destroyed by stairs and rain. And
think about upstairs venues. Think about trying to carry a thing upstairs with a big rack case. Kevin used to have these two giant vaults for his whole drum set, and they were always, if you had to go up steps, it was a 4-person job.
Yep.
And if it was narrow, you're gonna get hurt. Too bad.
You're just gonna get injured. It's part of it. Yeah. Devin, it's been amazing.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, dude. Anytime. I'm never opposed to return guests, so if there's any time you want to hop on and vent, talk about life, just let me know.
Oh, absolutely. I had fun.
Yeah, dude. Well, we'll stay in touch, brother.
All right. See you later, bud.
See you, man.